What's going on, everyone? This is Smoke. Welcome to the very first episode of the Smokey Mirror podcast. So this is essentially my Joe Rogan podcast. So I'll be talking to the most interesting people I can find about the most interesting topics that we can think of. My first guest was my friend Senith Berhane. She's 22 years old, currently studying for her master's at University of Southern California. And to be honest, I think this is probably the longest conversation we've had together. But anytime I've interacted with her, she's always had a really interesting perspective, and she's always articulated herself in very nice ways. So shout out to her for recording this with me on a crisp 8 a.m. here in Miami. 8 a.m. on a Sunday, to be exact. Just a few quick notes before we get started. So I'm recording at the Scut house. So, you'll hear the gang in the background. You'll also hear the Scut dog walking around. And then finally, there's two more comments that I want to address in advance. So first, there's a comment about white people having no culture that was said mostly as a joke, but I know it would offend me if I was white, so I did want to acknowledge that and just say that there is no hostility, there is no negativity here, nothing but positivity, nothing but Scut shit. And then finally, I also made a comment kind of pointing to or saying that there's a lack of responsibility or a feeling of community, and that we need people to decide, I'm not going to take this short-term easy gain of selling drugs in my community. I should take the long route, or have a more of a sense of responsibility. That's easy for me to say, coming from a privileged background, so I do want to acknowledge that in advance. With that being said, like and subscribe for more weekly content. I'm going to be doing these podcasts at least once a week. And get at me on IG at scut.smoke, and then also shop the merch, www.scut.shop. Scut stands for spreading knowledge using tactics, and this show is one of those tactics. Enjoy.
Anything, I'll go. Really, I'm cool.
I really want to start talking. We might as well just start off with the Travis Scott shit.
Okay.
Because like I said, I was talking to Justin about this yesterday, and I said I was surprised that people haven't died sooner than that, you know what I mean, at a festival.
I think I've heard of people dying at festivals, just not to that scale, and not that publicized, I would say, because there's a lot of video footage of unconscious people being pulled out, and the EMTs and people asking for help, and him performing over unconscious bodies. That
was crazy, right?
That video looks so creative. The girl, was it the girl that you saw?
I don't know. He was standing on a pedestal, almost
kind of looking over,
almost moaning.
Yes.
How Travis
and then
got
the video of the people coming up to him and try to tell him something up, and him dismissing it. I was like, there's a lot of, it's giving red flags on his end. It's not a good look on his end. I think it's the mix between he didn't realize the severity of what was going on, and I don't think he cared that much, because he's used to him, Playboy Cardi. If you watch interviews, they've talked about, they know that their concerts are intense, but that they like it like that, and they're used to people coming out with cuts and bruises and all of that. So I think he just thought it was just they'd
be like, open that shit up.
Yeah,
open that shit up.
They're okay, they kind of I don't want to say push it, but they push it.
They do push it, yeah. And they're fuck. I've been there, in Rolling Loud. They're fuck somebody up type shit.
So I just don't think he understood the severity of it. But at the same time, it's when he was over that one girl, in that one video I saw, I was she's right in your line of sight. So I'm you're watching people pull her over, and she looked lifeless. And I don't know if she was alive or not, honestly. And that's so scary to me. I can't imagine being in the crowd and just seeing lifeless people.
A dead person.
Yeah, because that's what people said they were seeing, and stepping over and
stepping over someone's body.
Some girl was yeah, I was trying to get out, and then I almost tripped on something that I thought, she looked down, she was it was just a lifeless body. I was oh my god.
Yo,
oh my god,
this is D-Day or some shit, World War II.
And then she said she climbed up on, I was reading this whole thing that she posted. She climbed up on something that a cameraman was pointed towards the concert. So she's telling the cameraman hey, there are people, you need to stop the concert. And he's I'm gonna push you off. It's 15 feet up. He's I'm going to push you off this.
Wilding.
If you don't get off. It was poor management on all ends.
Definitely
on all ends. Because even if Travis didn't realize what was going on, because he's midst performing, I feel somebody there should have, and they should have made the exact, even if it's a term of shutting off the music, and Travis gets mad at you, turn it off. Have somebody come out and be y'all need to chill out, or we need to whatever, whatever. And then Kylie Jenner casually recording up in like her little booth or whatever while they have like EMTs riding through. I was like,
wow, that's some like really, it's damn near some Squid Game shit.
I'm telling you something was up, and then some people were telling me like they had like the will you survive, will you make it to the other side, like little signs like
I need to see that. I need to see the signage. Let's pull up there's hella Twitter threads. I saw
this girl was talking about it on Twitter, and I was like, oh my god, like I just feel like not a setup, but a setup. Like I'm just convinced, or he has some bad omen around him, because how can that?
I mean, there's just so much death in hip hop. It's like the theme these days.
I just feel like you can't get a break with it. It's really sad. Yeah.
And even if it's not that, it's like Doja Cat with the white supremacist shit buzzing. Did everyone just forget about that?
I think they just chose to forget about it. I don't know what she did, but I don't believe anyone's cancelable. So
did you see the videos?
Yeah.
I was just surprised people would still be like down to like, oh yeah, this is still my girl. You know what I mean? I feel like
they were kind of just like, oh, she made a mistake. It's okay. Like we can overlook that.
Wow. That's crazy.
And I don't know if it's just that they want to give her like compassion as a black woman, or I guess she's mixed.
She's black?
I think she's mixed. I think. Look, let's look this up. I think there's some form of black in her, which was the issue that.
That's why it's even worse. That's
what I thought. But
like, yeah, check out this black see Meek Mill style. You know what I'm saying?
Literally.
See what I'm saying? Like it's all. But yeah, hold on, wait. This is the Twitter thread that I had seen. On the Astroworld shit, it's on, what's this guy's name? Space Cowboy. His ad is, this is a good thread. SM_TRI tip.
Her mother's Jewish.
Oh, okay. I gotta see the signs of them saying like, will you survive?
I literally need to find, I should have saved this stuff. Because I was just reading things.
Because anybody who knows me knows that I'm definitely like I'll entertain conspiracy theories because
I literally think something was up.
Usually they're more compelling than the truth. Like I always go back to 9/11.
There's always points made. Like always. It's never
like that 9/11 shit. What up, Visa?
It's like I don't know. Like let me try to find Astroworld signs.
Because we were watching a video about Freemasons.
Okay.
And they were basically saying like this guy interviewed a Freemason. And he said the only way that you can go up is by like doing the rituals that they have. And then he also said that he knows that they're lying to him. Like when you get introduced to the thing, they know they know that you're not telling the truth. So you're like, okay, I know this guy's lying to me about what's going on or whatever. Mm-hmm. And they say like the higher you get up, the more information you get. And so when you think about like how the president and like people who run the country are part of this quote unquote like club, and then you think about like what kind of rituals they could be doing, and then you see people like Jeffrey Epstein come out and you're like, whoa, look at all these people he was connected to. It just starts to,
no, his is just that in itself. I'm like, I just feel like any person of notoriety, like they're just on some real like can I curse?
Yeah, you can curse.
Okay, some real fucked up shit. Like it's just really like there's no way you can't tell me you have that much money, status, access. Like the Queen, like that whole like the UK, their whole thing, that shit's fucked up.
Super fucked up.
I don't know exactly what, like I can't tell you what, but I just know there's no way that you hold a family lineage of years, of decades. And then I'm like, no way. Like y'all have to be the way that he was connected to them. And connected to the Obamas and like all this stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
The Obamas. Bill Gates. Bill Gates literally was like, oh yeah, I wanted to get some money for blah blah blah. And it's like, you're Bill Gates. You're literally the richest dude. What do you mean you need money? Yeah. Then he was like, oh, I wanted to get the Nobel Peace Prize, so I was like leveraging my connection with Epstein to talk to because apparently Epstein could connect him with the director of like the Nobel Peace Prize. Like, how the fuck does this guy have all these connections?
No, yeah,
But wait, this is why I think so, because they have dirt on everybody. Like, hey, look, we have pictures of you with a 12-year-old. You know what I'm saying? So you have to do this. But like, that's the way you get initiated type shit, because there's no way we're gonna give you, like Travis Scott, give you a McDonald's deal, PlayStation 5, put you in Fortnite, all this shit, and not be able to control you. You know what I mean?
Oh, they definitely have something on him.
Like everybody, Drake. Everybody.
They have to. I feel like it's the only way you're like playing a game where you feel like you're winning, but at the end of the day, you're really just being more conditioned.
Yeah.
And you're in your conditioning us because we look up to you. And if you don't have a mind of your own, it's just like you fall into the trap. The way that so many, like, especially artists, like I think about artists mostly in this, I'm like, you guys have so much influence.
I got that on camera too. I was recording me.
But you have so much influence, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of just like the way that people perceive and look at things, and just like, I feel like they don't care. Not that it's anyone's really like civic duty. You don't have to be like, I don't know how to explain it. It's not their civic duty to do anything outside of the music, but it's just, I feel like once you know that you have that influence and you have that sense of control, like what you could do with it.
And it's like a sense of responsibility too.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, sure, yeah, you want money and that, blah, 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 I get it. But then it's like, you get to a point where you have the money, like you're not uncomfortable, you're not
like, there should be no reason that if Drake could fucking talk about anything he wanted to. Like, Drake could literally do anything. And I'm like, I'm not saying
it's the same old shit. Oh, lover boy this, and I'll pop your ass, and you know what I'm saying? Like, what,
even in the music, it lacks depth. It lacks like
authenticity.
Not to even say that last album was bad, because he has some good songs, but it's just no
substance. Yeah, that's what it is for me too, and that's what makes me think. I don't think everybody's just an airhead. I really do think it's just like a look. We own you. You can't do this type of shit.
Mm-hmm. No, like Drake knows. He knows if he starts saying some shit, he's gonna lose certain endorsements and deals and like the connections and whatever. And that clearly to him is more important than letting the fucking people know. Because I know that I'm aware that they know shit going on. They might not know all of it, but they do know some shit. But it's like, it's not worth it because I've never been put in this position, or like, and I kind of understand it in a way. Like, if I could be put in a position where everyone around me is taken care of, everyone, like, it would be hard for me to want to be like, okay, let's put all of that at risk.
Right.
And then potentially be worse off than like where we started with. I can see where that logic comes in, but also gets to a point now where it's like, Drake could probably like live his life 10 times over and still have money just chilling around. Or like people like that, to where I'm like, you have no business at least opening up a little bit. I really don't blame the artist though, because I really do think, like, puppets, you know what I mean? And you couldn't blame a puppet. It's like they don't have any control. It's literally the people we can't name. Like, who are the people that are like? Who are the people?
Like, who are they that are forcing these? But like, we do have a ruling class. Isn't that really weird to think about? Like, there's a small percentage of people who run shit, and then the rest of us are kind of just like looking around, watching sports and going to concerts, while they're the ones dictating, like, all right, bet we're gonna put y'all in the metaverse in a couple years, so Facebook's gonna change their name to Meta, like all these NFTs and shit. And how convenient it comes out right after the pandemic, when we were all inside, not going outside, staring at our phones all day.
I mean, I feel like we're definitely all, what is it's an HBO or is it a Netflix documentary about, I think how like the social media documentary, I just can't remember the title of it.
The Social Network?
Was it the Social Network?
Social Dilemma. Maybe,
I think so. So in that one, how they were talking about just like, it for me was the advertising part that really got me. When it was like I feel like now if I just say a word, like I just say, let's say Target, my phone, somehow I'm gonna get a Target ad within
Target,
within the next
shop,
or like
now,
you look at one pair of shoe or something, next thing you got a shit ton. Like, and I understand in a marketing perspective, as a marketing major taking advertising classes, like you're just trying to push a brand that like you're trying to make people consume, right? Make people be consumers. That's But I'm like, the way that they're so deep in our heads, and the way that like I just feel like technology is moving at a faster pace than we think it is. Way faster, especially faster than our little monkey brains can keep up with. That's what I'm saying. So it's like we're just being outsmarted by the technology. Do I think technology could outsmart us one day? Maybe. Like, that's very interesting to me too, because I'm like, we're moving past. But I mean, how do we know we haven't already been outsmarted? I don't think we know anything. We don't know anything. We just don't know anything. And people just sit around here trying to think that they know, and we just really don't know. I feel like we scratched the surface of what we know. Barely. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's why I really like looking into like spiritual stuff, like with religion, because I feel like that's the baseline where I'm just like, I definitely don't know. But everyone thinks, oh yeah, God's real and Jesus and the devil and Adam and Eve. And I'm like, wait a minute. If we think harder about this, we'll realize there's way more questions than answers. I just think that it's interesting, like the aspect of the Bible, for example, is very interesting to me, because I'm like, okay, who wrote this?
Right.
And why did they write it? And if they wrote it down, exactly, if they wrote it that many years ago, and life has changed, but you guys don't want to like, you don't want to act like the Bible can change in a way. Like, shouldn't the word change because we're changing? That's
what I'm saying. Shouldn't there be like? So you're telling me God never wanted to say anything else again? He's like, all right.
He said this.
Niggas wrote that shit 2,000 years ago.
We're good.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Like, and the fact that I'm like, you're taking words from 2,000 years ago and then trying to use it in today's logic as like, for like, you get into like LGBTQ. So like, people want to act like people for religious purposes can't be freaking marrying the same.
Gay, right.
Like that like logic, because they're like, oh, because in the Bible he said,
right. Like what?
Who wrote the Bible to tell you that? Like, how can that be your basis? And how can you not separate church and state? There's so many things that go into that, but it's just like, no, that's how can that be your basis for like, honestly anything? No,
that's a big thing, and honestly, that's kind of something I want to make popular. It's just okay, great. Like the Bible, that's a good starting point. But yeah, when you talk about like, oh, you can't be gay because of what this book says, and like God hates gay people. Like I just don't. There's no possible way. Like God does not care if you're gay or not.
I just don't think he can. Like I'm just like and then they'll try to be like, oh, the science behind it. I'm like, we don't know science either. And just because we know the one way, like I guess it's technically a woman and a man to have to, or I guess a sperm and an egg to make a baby. So that's your basis of like love and like, I mean, it goes into a lot of other things.
But that shit doesn't matter. We have free will, you know what I mean? So like if I don't want to have a kid, if I want to bang a dude, then like that's my prerogative. But what does that have to do with like, why are you making laws to prevent it? You know what I'm saying? Like
and then I'm just like, you know, I think a lot of laws make no sense, because I'm like, if you just let people do them, we would all be a little bit happier. Like, why is there an abortion law? Why is
I just want to say, what do you think about that abortion law?
I don't like. Okay, first of all, Texas tripping. Like they are, because I'm a believer. I'm a very pro-choice person, but I'm a pro-choice with most things that go on in your life, because I genuinely don't care what other people do. But it's like, how can that be? I don't understand how anyone can sit here and try to tell somebody else what to do with their body, especially when you
right.
The abortion pill and like the ways to get rid of a baby. That science is there, right?
Yeah.
We created that science, so it's like, why do you get to pick and choose what science is? Or like, do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they just pick and choose what they want to say. So it's like, how are you going to tell somebody what to do with their body in a way? But then what makes me mad is that you don't want people to kill babies. But you understand that we've been conditioned, especially in the Black community, to sit here, have children young, and not have the resources to take care of kids. You get put on this cycle, but you don't want to provide. Like, they don't want to provide ways to help people. So it's like, there's no free daycare so that people can still work. Yep. You're not giving them free access to healthcare at all. You're not giving them the tools they need to be able to raise a family or raise a kid properly. So I don't understand how you can think that it's a better idea to put kids into the world that are already starting at such a disadvantage because they don't have access to the same things as the people who are up there trying to act like, I'm like, everybody's not born into like a quote unquote stable 2-parent household that both have an income, and like,
I'm pretty sure most people aren't born.
No, they're not. And I'm like, I don't know why that, like, I don't know how you can run with that. And then my thing is, if you're gonna run with it, if you're gonna say you guys can't get rid of your children, if someone gets accidentally pregnant who does, like, I know right now, for example, if I got pregnant, I wouldn't want the child because I know I'm not in a place of my life to be like, I can take care of a child the way that I would want to, the way that I would think is proper. So it's like, I probably want to get rid of that baby too. So when you kind of tell me that I can't, like, so now not to say like, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, like when I say stuck with the child, but you're stuck with the child because you're not given that opportunity and choice. You're stuck with child.
Channel.
It's good. But it's like, you're not providing the opportunities to help people. And it's like, a lot of people, I'll take myself out of that conversation because I'm relatively privileged. I know that my parents would, like, you know, like I have that cushion in a way that would be like, okay, I would probably get the help that I need. A lot of people don't have that cushion. So it's hard, like they speak through that cushion. A lot of politics is speaking through your cushion. Yeah. I mean, they're already, like, it's in the ruling class. These people have wealth, power, connections. Like, telling you, oh yeah, you poor people can't do this. Because rich people can just leave the state. Like, I'll get an abortion in Florida then, or people don't have that access, and then they think it's okay to sit here and try. Like, I just feel like you have to open up the access if you're going to try to make crazy, in my opinion, crazy laws and rules that strip people of their own free will, because that's what it is. You're not giving people choice anymore when you try to do that. Right. That's all they want. All they want is control, and like whatever like some of them are on that religious wave, which I'm like, that people who move through religion I don't like per se, because to me you can't impose your religious beliefs onto other people who may not have those religious beliefs. I will have whatever religious or spiritual belief that I have, but I don't expect you to have that. I wouldn't expect the next person. So I can't make a law on a country that is diverse, a country that has so many people that believe so many different things, and try to say like, okay, this is how it's gonna be. Like, we're not in like Saudi Arabia where like 90-something% of them are Muslim and they all follow the same belief and rule, to be like, okay, we can make our rules around the religion because that's how we all think.
For the most part.
For the most part, probably not, but you know, for the most part, like, we don't have that. We're supposed to be the melting pot, the diverse ones. Like, you want to pride yourself on that when it's convenient.
Exactly.
That's not.
But not actually accommodate everyone.
Never. You don't actually want us to be diverse. You don't. You want us to say we're diverse, look like we're diverse,
and use it as a talking point to say why we're so good.
Right. But everyone who wins in this country, it's not diverse, and it's just like that American dream is not real. I don't believe in it. My dad, we got in that argument the other day because when I got
wait, did your dad immigrate here or was he born?
He was
I was about to say there's a big difference between immigrants' perspective versus ours.
Oh yeah, no. We have a lot of differing opinion. When he immigrated here, he came here as a war refugee, and in that, I mean, he kind of like, he made it out the mud. Like, he didn't know anybody here. He came with $200. He got himself to Ohio, lived there for 9 months, took a bus to North Carolina, and that's how my family's in North Carolina. Wow. And he got himself through school. He's an engineer now. Like, I mean, I look at my dad and it's like, I see a lot of sacrifice and a lot of success through it. It's very powerful, and it pushes me to want to do better for myself. Like, I have that, but I don't believe in like, he's just like, oh, if you work hard, you will be successful here. I'm like, no. If you work hard, they'll condition you to believe that everything that you're doing is to better yourself. When you can't get out working in the site. When you work in the site, you're never gonna get out, right? Unless you're smart enough to play through the game. But most Americans aren't smart enough to play through the game. So it's like, yeah, I went to school. Now I'll get a job, and then what? I have to pay these taxes, pay this rent, pay this, pay that. Where am I getting? You're not ever gonna get that comfort zone to kind of like push yourself out there. A lot of people are stuck with the mindset that it's like, I have to pay bills and you have kids, and it's like, now I have to raise a family. So you never get, I just don't want to live my life through that. I don't want to
What's like your ideal? So like, I'm hearing like the issue is, no matter what, it's just like, they're kind of finessing you into working. That's what it is. Like, yeah, work hard and you'll get this and that. So what do you think what's the ideal version of that?
I don't believe that working is bad. I'm not gonna sit here and say that either. I feel like a lot of people do have passions. Like, if someone's passionate in medicine and they want to be a doctor, like, I'm not gonna tell you, oh, being a doctor, feeding into the whatever. No, I mean, you are, but like, you're not. But like, at the same time, it's like, I understand that there is need for structure, because without structure, this shit would fall apart. It would. It's just that the structure isn't actually there for the people, and that's what makes me mad. Like, there should be no reason why living in a 1-bedroom in downtown should be like fucking like $3,000 a month. It clinically, it's not right. They know it's not right. It's not just. Right. I get that you want, like, I understand that America has the #1 working class. So like, we have a really large middle class in comparison to all other countries. A lot of other countries, like, they have poor people and they have really rich people. Yeah, not a lot of in between. Us, we have like a weird, for a country, we have a big in between. And I'm like, there's a disconnect there, because a lot of people have potential to where they don't have to. I feel like, I do think it's traps, like, fall into the trap. It's just, it's not built for us to succeed or work around that or through that. Very few people. What do you mean
by succeed? Because when you say your dad succeeded?
Yeah, in his eyes.
Right.
To me, I feel like you're just following along what they want you to follow along with. For where he was, though, it is success. Right. Because he's from a third world country where it's like eating meat was like a big deal on a holiday. So it's like, where he is now, like, that, I guess success is measured differently. Let me rephrase that, because success is measured differently per person. My version of success isn't going to be your version of success. Clearly, my dad and I, and I'm put in a position of privilege to where I already beat so many obstacles that other people have. I don't have that issue. I was born into not having that issue. I was also born into having a lot of things that a lot of other people aren't gonna have. A lot of my peers, a lot of my coworkers don't even have. just off the strength of how I look, where I'm from, like off things that are not controlled.
Right.
And I just feel like at least I'll speak on what I think my own success it would be is just to be in a position where I don't have to feel like a puppet. Because I feel like working for a company that honestly, if I stop working there, my job will be posted like this. They don't genuinely care about you.
Right.
I'm not doing the work for myself. I'm still trying to figure out that like lane of passion. We're still in the working process of what that is. But it's just like, that would be what I gauge.
So it's the freedom thing then. It's all about having freedom. Because I do think the American dream that they sell you is you come from a place where it's a little bit harder or rougher. All you have to do here is work and it'll be a lot better. And for people who subscribe to it and follow that prescription, like it works.
Yeah.
But then it's like, is that really where you want to be at? Because then the next generation, your family's comfortable and they realize like, hey, I'm not really feeling that self-realization. Like, I don't want to have to work. I should want to work. And like you said, we don't have infrastructure and policies that work for us. It's almost like we're working for the policies in the system. Yeah. And so one thing I think that could easily, or not easily, but it could have an impact is just universal basic income, like giving everybody like $2,000 a month at the age of 18. You know what I mean? Like, okay, or $1,000 a month, whatever it is. Because then it's like, all right, you don't have to work to survive. You know what I mean? Like, we know you, like, how are you gonna, that's like playing Monopoly, but then when you go past 200, you don't get anything. Right. You just, or you don't start off with any money. It's like, how the hell am I supposed to make it in this highly capitalistic society with no money? So I think that's kind of bogus that they do that to us. Let's just give like, hey, everybody has $1,000 check. That way it's like, hey, do you want to be homeless or not? Yes. If I want to be homeless because I can't, like, I don't want to live in a house. I wouldn't want to live in a tent. Cool. But if not, $1,000, you can live somewhere.
You should be able to find something. I just think it's all conditioned. Like even just like like you start off as a kid in the education system, everything's really conditioned for you to be a worker. Like the education system is wrong because I don't feel like it teaches us to value education. I'll say that through my schooling, everything that I feel like of value that I learned has either been self-taught or learned through someone, not necessarily school, because I don't think that it teaches us to learn how to work through passion and learn information that we genuinely think is valuable to us. Because what you retain in school is going to be different than what I retain. Like everyone's different. Everyone has different interests, whatever. And college is supposed to be that time where you like find your interest in your major. But I'm like, all of that's not really conditioned at a point of interest. It's conditioned a place like you get out of here to work.
Do you agree with this? School conditions you by, getting you to complete assignments and basically take orders. It's kind of what they're teaching you, priming you to do, like take orders and follow along.
It was, because who was it? Was it Jaden Smith that like, he like related schools to the prison system? And I was like, fuck. Like he was like, yeah, right. you have to get to school at a certain time. You eat at a certain time. There's a bell the same way that there is in, like, he was like connecting a lot of things that I was like, well, and that is in our own little prison for all these years. Like when you say it like that, I was like, that doesn't sound okay. And
that's when it goes back to like, are the system for us or are we for the system? Because it's like if we made our education system back in like the 1910s and 20s or 30s, whenever it was
conditioned for workers, for industrial workers.
Yeah, like we need assembly workers. But now in the 21st century, we could be conditioning people to be better humans. You know what I'm saying? Like we know so much more. We can be teaching people, hey, this is how you like move through this human experience. Teaching them that as a child. Wait, and then there's a big portion that I actually wanted, before I forget. So they were literally about to pass a bill. I don't know if it was the infrastructure bill or whatever, but they were going to give everybody free pre-K. Like it was going to be universal free pre-K and like free 2 years of community college. But they weren't able to pass it. Corporate interests, literally like the college industry blocked the college shit. And then I don't know what happened with the pre-K, but it was just they didn't have enough money. But
they say they don't have enough money, but that military...
They don't have an air
First
quotes.
Of all, how can you not have enough money when you're the one creating... Like that's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Like the way that we're supposedly so in debt never made sense to me. How can we possibly be in debt when we're the ones printing the money? Literally. Can't y'all just say y'all don't have debt no more?
Oh, what up?
Hey. Like, can't you just say you don't have debt no more? Like, I'm confused.
Right.
Like, I really still don't get it. Like, when they're like, oh, like, we're reaching our debt limit and we have to sign our spending bill. I'm like, can't you just aimlessly spend? Like, in a weird way, if you're at the the government can't just aimlessly spend because you're in control of how the money moves.
They were literally gonna mint $1 trillion coin to like increase the spending deficit or something like that. Like I have no idea. It makes no sense.
It makes that concept to me makes
the fact that it makes no sense proves that, okay, we can make it so that it makes no sense, but we're all benefiting. You know what I mean? Like we don't have, like it's almost like they trick us into thinking, oh, there's nothing we can do, this is just how it is, when in reality, like, this is all man-made, and if it's man-made, that means we can change it. It's just there's no,
they don't want to, or it's just not in interest.
It's not in interest.
It's not in interest to change it. Let me not do that,
because I refuse to believe they put satellites in the sky and put people on the moon, nukes, Wi-Fi, not the metaverse, but we can't figure out how to get everybody education and water, healthcare to me is bare minimum. You can't tell me that bare minimum. There should be no reason why, like, we just don't have basic free healthcare. And I understand, like, with Canada, they do, like, they have universal healthcare, but their taxes are like dummy high. That's the way that they balance it out. But I'm like, I just don't understand how our country with our access could sit here and genuinely be like, you guys can't get one free physical a year. You can't do that unless you have healthcare. Then you have to pay for your physical, right? Or like, if you go to get stitches and you don't have any type of insurance, it's gonna be $1,000 to go through. like that doesn't make, it's not comprehensive. It's not, how are you for the people? If the basic needs cost, like, if the cost to just live anywhere costs so much, like, it doesn't make sense. No, for example, like, the way Zillow is about to be a fucking monopoly because they're buying the properties and upselling them because they know that people go on Zillow to look at homes. Zillow to me is, have you heard about this? No, I didn't hear about that.
Oh my God, Zillow is crazy. Like, okay, so Zillow, you know how it's like the #1 way to like look up a home, all of that. Okay, cool.
I be on Zillow all the time, honestly.
I do too. And you know what? They track us on there.
That was sick.
I mean, you know, they track us on everywhere.
Of course,
like,
of
they
course.
really track you. So what happens is like, you make a Zillow account, and let's say I'm interested, for example, me moving to Texas. So now I'm interested in moving to Texas. I need to look up properties in Texas. Yeah. So you're gonna see what area they see, what are the highest zip code areas, where the most sought out zip code area, whatever. So what they've been doing, they used to, I think up until 2019, it was solely just like they would make a profit off of people going through their app to look at the home. So if they did buy the home or connect with through the real estate agent, they would get like a percentage. That was the way that they were making money, I guess. Okay. 2019, they basically opened up their own, like, I guess, real estate agency in a way, like a I forgot what the exact name is, but like a subgroup of Zillow, where they'll look at the areas. So they'll look, let's say a house is $200,000. It's up for the market. They'll buy that house at over the 250, right? They may do a few like things to fix up the house, whatever, put it back on the market, $400,000. Wow. So then you start doing, you buy every house in the zip code, you put it up for an extra, now the zip code goes up another $100,000, people have to buy it at that amount.
And that's just making up value, like out of thin air.
That's literally what they do. Like, people are literally like, oh, like, I put my house on the market, the next day I got an offer that was 100,000 more than I had it up on the market. Of course, any normal person, like, if you tell me you give me, and then like they'll pay it up. It's not like they have the money that they give it to you, right? So of course I'm gonna say yes. Somebody told me that, like, well, not someone told me, I read that they got, like, they had their house bought, and then, or like, so I guess Zillow bought the house and then basically somehow try to like buy, like, give them back the house, like sell them back the house for, like, it was a weird, because I guess they were like, oh, we're actually not gonna make money off this, so here you go, we'll just hand you back the house in a way for, like, we'll give you a little more money to take it back. So then I'm like, that doesn't make, like, they're playing a real sick game. Now you are manipulating the housing market that's already fucked up as is, and I'm like, you manipulate it like that, you could make every house a fucking $1 million if you wanted to. Now no one can afford to live anywhere, and then it's like they'll take, how, like, I was looking like Inglewood, they're moving those houses up 100,000, 200,000 more than they need to be. When I'm like, you're already at a lower income.
In California,
yes,
Chicago,
and a lower in California, a lower income, predominantly Black area. That I'm like, at that point, you're gentrifying. You're literally pushing into the gentrification of all of these areas for profit. Of course. So I'm just like, okay, clearly it comes at the expense of lower income people, which typically are people of color. Which, I mean, they don't really care about us anyway. So it's just kind of like, it goes into so many facets.
Did you read about that for school, or that was just?
I actually ended up seeing a TikTok on it, and I did end up writing a report for school, and that's how I was looking at the California neighborhood. But yeah, I saw TikTok, and then I started watching YouTube videos, and I was like, Yo, you need to look it up. Zillow's fucked up.
Zillow is fucked up.
Zillow's fucked up. It's like they were literally like, "Oh yeah, y'all need to stop. Like, stop using Zillow."
I definitely need to check this out. This is wild.
It's crazy because I'm just like they're really manipulating the housing market. And I remember my dad was looking at me like I brought it up to him. I was like, "Did y'all know that Zillow is crazy?" And they were like, My dad's always just like, can you just mind your business? Like, right, you're fine. My dad's always just like, you're fine. He's that person. Yeah. And a lot of people have that mentality, and that's the problem.
That's the problem.
It's a problem. You can't just say that you're fine, so everything's fine. Everything's not fine. Like, you may be in a position that you might be comfortable, but things aren't fine. I'm like, we're still going through so many issues that I'm like, if we all just keep saying we're fine, those issues will never be fixed. And it's like, you're going into that. You're just playing in a cycle. But I feel like, especially with the Black community, they want us to play in the cycle. And we've been playing real well in the cycle. And I don't like that. Yeah. I don't like that at all, just as a collective. And I'm like, I think we're starting to become very outspoken. Our generation, I think we see through bullshit better. Or we'll acknowledge bullshit better. But I'm like, okay, we acknowledge it.
What are we gonna do
about it? Yeah, you can say it all day. We all know that shit's fucked up, but I could sit here this whole time and say shit's fucked up. Nothing happens.
Right.
It's still fucked up. So it's like
still fucked up.
What are our moving, like how are we moving through that? Because if we don't do anything, generations after us aren't gonna do anything. And
that's like my biggest thing is, why do we expect white people to do what we won't even do for ourselves? You know, like respect each other. Like that always blew my mind. And for people who've been enslaved and had the wealth stolen from you, for us to just give it right back to white people with all the designer shit that we worship is actually, again, that blows my mind. And it just all goes back to like our culture. It's like we drive the culture, but then who's in control of the messages that are getting pushed out to us? So like I don't blame the artists, but I do blame the people who own our artists, are selling to our community and influencing it, but they're not from our community, and they definitely don't care.
That's what I say, but they don't care. That's why.
They don't care. They're just farm. They like America's like a big farm. You know what I mean? It's like we need a working class of people to. I mean, it was built on slavery. You know what I'm saying? And they're like, all right, we can't outright slavery, so we have to have some other kind of slavery.
Yeah.
And so if we can get you to agree that, you know, hey, you could be living in Iran. You know what I'm saying? Where shit is blowing up. Or you could be here working, getting $80K a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, which one do you want? And so they get you to say like, oh, this is, you know, like be grateful for what you do have. And this is why Kanye was like that Black History Month bullshit is bullshit. Because it's like, look where you guys were now. Look where you're at. Like, stop complaining. Shit. Like, you can eat at our restaurants.
Like he made a good point when he was talking about, I think, the African American History Museum in that interview, and he was like, do you see where they started, which was slavery? He was like, one, why are we limited to starting at slavery when we have so much African history? Like, I don't think they even want Black people to know about themselves, right? Yeah, which is exactly why it's not taught correctly in schools. I don't feel like people are where you really have to do your own research to understand, one, just how powerful we are in the way of potential, and just like genuinely accurate information, because we're not learning it. But at the same time, with the Black community, my biggest issue with the Black community and being a part of the Black community is that we are never going to get the change we seek, because we just divide ourselves too much. If we're not unified, how can we try to expect other people to like be united with us and respect us? When it's like, we're literally broken up into so many pieces. You want to break us down by the tone of our like colorism, the tone of your skin, and it's like, well, if you're African American, or if you're like just African, or this or that, or like you're from the, like, there's too many division, like too much division in a way for me to be like, oh, we can be united as a front. If we could unify ourselves better, and I'm not saying that's to deny what makes you different. It's not saying deny ethnicity. I'm never saying that, but it's just like it's just like, why are we dividing ourselves down? Why do we argue amongst ourselves in that way? Like, we look like we're in shambles. Like, we look like we're in shambles. We are low-key in shambles. So it's like, so as like, I just can't imagine, like, as a white person, if I'm just seeing y'all like, oh, well, you know, I'm better than you because I'm lighter than you, or what, I'm gonna be like, what the hell y'all got going on over here? Y'all don't make no sense. So why in the world would I sit here and try to,
you know, just imagine you're Chad, you're sitting there, you're like, why is all these shorty's talking about niggas this and that and niggas this and like,
we really we're the ones who degrade ourselves. In my opinion, we really do. We degrade ourselves.
Yep.
And in doing that, like, you're just, you can't expect everybody else to see you as equal and respect you when it just looks a mess. It just looks a mess. It really does.
I have a book called Brainwashed, and it's actually by the author. He lives in Brickell.
Oh, okay.
He was a marketing guy. Like, he spent like 20 years to have his own marketing company, and he did research on how basically there's been a centuries-long campaign of black inferiority going on in America, and we just live it out today and honestly reinforce it. Not even consciously, just like things that we think are our own are really just responses to oppression. So it's like we're not even thinking freely because we don't even know what it's like to think not having to respond to oppression and discrimination. I mean,
the whole colorism in itself literally stemmed. It's just slavery by the people who are in the house and the people who are out in the field, and it's 2021 and you're still trying to sit here and be like, just because your skin is lighter than my skin, you're either your worth, or and we perpetuate it, in beauty you perpetuate and all of these things. So it's just we have been so conditioned, it's so deeply rooted in the culture. It's not even supposed to be in the culture, but it's just deeply rooted to the point where I'm like, are we gonna get out? Are we gonna wake up? Y'all want to sit here and be like, oh, this is wrong, but I'm we're still feeding into it.
Right. You're
feeding into it in beauty standards. You're feeding into it. It's just those things, for example, just should not. That makes no sense. So it's when we can't even, again, if you can't look at ourselves as equal and we can't stand united, you can't expect the other races, other demographics to sit here and be like, oh, okay, y'all make sense. Let's put you in the table.
I think the biggest issue is lack of real male leadership. Or more lack of we need more black. I'm not gonna say there aren't any out there, but I'm gonna say that there's not enough, and they're not doing enough, really. Because I feel like the women got it, but most of our men have either been locked up. We didn't have men to raise us, so the discipline is lacking. Mm-hmm. The desire to take care of the community is lacking. The kind of I'm not gonna sell drugs in my community because I'm more than just the instant gratification. I don't need to get this fast money and do this or that because I care about, you know what I mean? It's really it's a care thing. It's a pride thing. When the men are out of our community, we just kind of lost pride in the women didn't respect the men, but at the same time they're raising their men to it's just really it's a cycle. And so when you put it on a macro scale, you'll see a whole bunch of grown men acting kind of like women or children, because they don't know how to man up, because they haven't had a true role model. Even if you get money and what you would think would be success, you still don't have that sense of responsibility or pride in your community to want to take care of it.
I mean, but do you think that there's a solution in that? That sometimes I think about that, how we're saying oh, we can call out things, but sometimes I sit there and I'm like,
what can we really do about that? I think it goes back to educating the next generation. That's really the most we can do. But
it's hard to educate. For example, I think for something like that, I feel like a boy becoming a man and the proper ways that you should, want to take care of the people around you, that starts within a home base. So if you can't even sit there and be the aspects of loyalty and everything like that, you can't even do that within your home, within your love life or anything like that. How are you going to do that within the community?
Right,
you can't even sit there and raise a kid. How are you going to uplift a community?
Facts.
So it's we got a lot of it sounds like basic work to do, but that mindset has to be shifted. And I think it all goes back to the fact that they don't want it to be shifted for us, because the moment we start unifying, I feel like the moment you start actually unifying Black families and uplifting the community in that way, so that people have healthy demographics around it, they're fucked. They don't want us to unify, so they're not going to do it. I feel like all of that's perpetuated. I remember, I don't know which speaker it was, but they were talking about basically demolishing the Black family. There were more Black families in the 60s and stuff. That shit was demolished.
Yeah, literally the single mother rate was 20-ish%. Now it's 70.
That's ridiculous.
Crazy.
And it's one that Black men are being locked up at disproportionate rates. They're not there. So if you're not there, and let's say you're raising a son, there's no mother in the world, no matter how amazing the mother is, that's gonna give them what a father, like a healthy father figure would look like, even if it's not a healthy 2-parent household. But at least if you have both parents active in your life, like that want to show you the way. But it's like, how can they show you when they haven't experienced it? And then now we're all coming, you get to age where it's like, oh, I didn't experience these things, so how do I do it?
Right, what am I supposed to do?
And it's hard to be like, okay, we just need to teach them. It's like, you can't really teach someone something that you haven't like fully experienced in a way. So it's like you have a bunch of people that have never experienced that. We're all just looking at each other like, we're so bad with love. Love in general in the Black community is such a weird concept. Like the way that people move through it, I'm like, I don't think any of us have seen. Like, I mean, some people have, but like even me, I was raised in a 2-parent household, and I still don't think I've seen like what a healthy love looks like. Because my parents, like, they just weren't physical touch wasn't a thing. They don't hug, they would never kiss on New Year's. Like I thought it was so weird. Like my introduction to all of physical touch was so late because I wasn't used to it. And they weren't like I do believe in like those love languages. I think a lot of people seek out what they didn't have. Like for me, like it's always been words of affirmation is a big one for me, because my parents never said I'm proud of you, I love you. But I had to bring that up in quarantine. Like in quarantine we had some weird conversation where I ended up breaking down crying in front of them because I was like, I've done everything you've wanted me to do in a way, and not to say that I've done it for them and partially, but like I'm in this position because I want to make you guys proud, but you never once told me that. Like, and I know that my dad's way of showing his love is acts of service. I've always had everything I've needed. Like he goes above and beyond to make sure that we're good, the house is good, everything's paid, like all of that. Like as the leading father figure, he makes sure as a provider that he's provided. That's his way of showing love. Like my mom's a quality time person. She'll just like hang out with you. Like the ways that they show love is just different than what I felt like I needed. I was like, all I wanted to hear is that you love me, because I don't think like my dad now says it every time we're on the phone because of that conversation. And it's like, it's weird because I feel like in the Black community, it's like everyone's missing so many different pieces. And it's like, yeah, you can see someone can raise you well. There's so many amazing like mothers and fathers who they just don't show them love. So it's like you're watching your mom, you're growing up, like let's say it's a single mother household, you're watching her maybe date other people or whatever because she still has a life. It's fair, like that's not bad, but you're not sitting there seeing what a healthy love dynamic looks like, and then you go out into the world and you're supposed to give someone a healthy love. Like I'm sorry, you just don't know how to do that. Exactly. And I think you can learn it, and I think you can be like healthy. I'm not saying you're just broken just because of that. I don't think anything's impossible, but it's like we're not seeing healthy love. And I think everything in life is rooted through love. So love goes all the way at, like, if it's right here, it's like everything else we've talked about today. You have to have love to be able to do any of that. You have to have love to have compassion. You literally have to have love to move through jealousy. Like I just believe that love is at the forefront of everything. And I don't think the Black community knows love enough. I
agree. I think that's really one of the biggest issues is we don't have the love. Like we don't have the self-love. We don't get the love from other people, like in our family. And that's why I think the whole like fall of Bill Cosby was big, because that Cosby Show, a lot of people, that's what you saw. Like that's some real love. Like I didn't have that in my life, but I saw that. But we have like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like Good Times. Like the messages in the media can impact the broader generation, you know what I mean? But now if you look, do we have any shows like that? Blackish, I guess. Are they in love? There's no like, oh, family sitcom where, you know, everything is for better or for worse, like good, you know what I'm saying? Like Bill Cosby, they were like upper middle class, like rich, had money and shit, like had a really nice family dynamic. Nowadays it's like we don't, motherfuckers are looking at Lil Durk and his girlfriend talking about relationship.
I'm telling you, like, it's really messed up the way that people just talk about, and like, don't get me wrong, they could, I don't know their relationships, right? They can look at each other and they can like whatever, like y'all are cool, but I'm like, these aren't, I guess to what, I guess my own standard, I can't really base other people's standards, but to my standard, that's not what it should be looking like. It shouldn't be where this, like, I mean, this man's talked about cheating on her, like he's cheated on her, he's done whatever, and like she's stayed with him, and that's their business, their choice. But it's like, that shouldn't be like the way that a lot of girls, like just as a girl, and I hear girls talk, they just talk about like, oh well, I'm in love, quote unquote, so if this man cheats on me, or if he whatever, I'll take it back, or I'll go through this like crazy cycle that you don't even, I just don't feel like we need to be going through for love if you really like love someone. Now I'm not saying everyone's perfect, but it's just like, a lot of things I think are normalized that don't need to be normalized. A lot of, like, you just don't need to be going through the issues that you go through in the name of love.
Do you think that's I feel like most girls wouldn't put up with that.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
Really?
They say that, but people say stuff.
But in reality,
I'll see, and you know me, like, I'll sit here and say, oh my God, men, this and that. But no, like, you, like, this is so, and I'm so real with that. I'm like, I will say that left and right, knowing good and well. One, I never mean everybody, but I just, like, I'm just a talker, so, like, whatever. I never mean all. I always say, like, oh, men this, but I don't mean all men. Because I believe there are good men, there are good women. I believe people can be good for people and bad for people while still maintaining the same personality and traits. And I believe people change who they want to change for. So if someone was not shit to me, they could be shit to somebody else. They could be good for somebody else. Okay, charge them into the game, it's whatever. But it's like, a lot of women will put, people are like, when they're in love, they're so blinded. And it's like, they say that they're not going to deal with a lot of shit, and then you catch yourself dealing with shit. And I'm like, you're like, damn, like, what?
I was capping.
Like, what? No, I actually do think a lot of people would put up with you. Not saying like a consistent, but if it was like a situationally, like, I hear a lot. Even if they don't say that or they claim that they won't, do they take them back? Yes, I've watched it time and time again. It's like, or the disrespect, or somebody will do things that you'll say is stepping over your boundary, but clearly you haven't held that boundary hard enough, because you're
still
like, yeah. And I believe people make mistakes, people, whatever, and I do believe in forgiveness. I don't believe that forgiveness necessarily means you have to, like, go back to a situation or whatever, but I'm big on, like, you need to forgive people. But it's like, I don't feel like we have strong enough, like, people don't have strong enough boundaries for stuff. So it's just like, they're gonna, like, people are gonna say, and social media is so fucking fake. Like, people repost Justin LeBoy, a fucking 30-something-year-old who, in my opinion, is entirely too grown to be sitting here talking about some Aries women.
Right.
I'm like, every time I look at, like, I'm just like, this is a grown man. A grown man posted this. And all
did he though? Because then at the same time, like, who knows?
Who knows? Okay, but behind the face of a grown man, and he's gonna claim it like it was
like
his.
It was him, yeah.
Is sitting here posting, talking about astrological signs that he had I know he knows nothing about. Whether people believe in astrology or not, that's a whole other topic. But it's like, you're talking about astrological signs and people giving head and this and that, and like no, literally, he posts such crazy shit that I'm like, so this is our standard of love, like, people,
right.
Like, this is like this right here. Like, I get that partially it's jokes, like, I understand humor, but like, there's always truth behind humor. So I'm just sitting here like, it's funny. I know, that's why I'm just like, oh my God, like.
No, but I agree. Like, when I was teaching, it literally, these kids, they're not getting what they need from home. They're watching everything on social media, like YouTube, Instagram, now of course TikTok. And who's controlling that? Like, I remember that Daquan page that came out. It wasn't even a black dude. It was like somebody in like Saudi Arabia or some shit. Like, literally somebody from the Middle East, just like finessing people. You know what I mean? And so people can get online and sell whatever ideas are going to get them popular and whatever, but and not care about the repercussions it has on society and how it's programming people or moving the culture to a certain way when shit gets viral. And there's a profit incentive for it. So it's like, why wouldn't people take advantage? And if we don't have anything to counter it, we're just generations of people getting programmed by, because at the end of the day, your brain is really just programs. Like, most of the things we do is just based on our subconscious behavior, like programming. And so if we're not programming our minds, somebody else is. If you're not programming yourself, somebody else is doing it, whether from the TV shows you're watching, the media you consume, whether it be like talk shows, the news is big, of course, music. And I feel like it doesn't have to be this way. We need to be, instead of teaching all the bullshit that we teach in school, we need to be teaching people how to deal with being a human in modern day society. You know what I'm saying? Like, up until maybe 8th grade, then you can, I guess, learn all the specific, like, obviously math, writing, all that. Yeah, you need to know that. But I think it's way more important to learn how to navigate as a human in 2021.
Don't teach you any actual mechanisms to be six. Like I just feel like we do need to be taught, like, you need to normalize mental health. There need to be classes, conversations, whatever, in schools about what the fuck anxiety is. Like, then all of us sit here self-diagnosing ourselves because we don't know what the fuck's going on in our head, because
at all.
Mental health is not like it's become, that's very recent. Like, my parents, Well, okay, one out of a foreign country, my mom was like, I don't believe in depression. I remember when she told me that. She doesn't believe it. She literally does. She always tells us that, because there was really a point where I was like, hey girl, I could be, you know, a little depressed. And she's like, what? Like,
but you're not starving.
You're not starving. You're not starving. So why would you be depressed? Not like, we've had to really have that, like, go into that conversation. I've had those conversations with her.
I actually am really interested in that conversation. Like, what did she say? Like,
she literally, like, when I tell you, it's like your basic necessities are met. And again, that comfortability conversation, you're comfortable. How could you be sad? Like, she was like, I can understand you being sad, but to be depressed and that to be a consistent feeling, it's invalid. It's invalid because you have everything that you need. It's invalid because how I came onto this earth was like 10 times worse than how you're here. So how can you be depressed?
Right.
Because whether, I don't think, like, the thing.
Try to bang on the table. Yeah, like, try not to do that.
Oh. I thought you said try to do it. I was like, why?
No, like, try not to.
My bad. Okay. But like, so like, my parents, like, there's no mental health conversation there. That like, I think my mom's realized it more. She started interpreting for hospitals. So she'll talk to a lot of refugee people that can't speak English, that only speak Amharic or Tigrinya, which are the languages of Ethiopia and Eritrea, where my mom and my dad are from. So she's starting to see a lot of mental health issues that come from these refugees. I'm like, they just came from back home. So that means that they were struggling with this there, but y'all don't normalize. Like, we barely normalize it in the United States. So I'm like, I can't expect y'all to have it all together. I'm not even saying that. It's just, you won't even open up that conversation because it doesn't seem real. But I just don't think that you guys have accepted. People can be depressed. People can feel really anxious. People, like, those are real feelings and they're valid regardless. Like, I think how I look at it, for example, is that trauma, the feeling of trauma or having trauma in a situation trauma looks different. What was traumatic for me could be traumatic for you, could not be traumatic. So we can't base the level of trauma. So how can you base somebody's like level of happiness? I'm like, you and I were put in two different positions and yours could be less than mine. But if you're being fulfilled through love in a way, if you're being fulfilled in your job, whether you are a bus driver, but you have a family, you have a wife, or whatever, you could be happy. Whether you could have all the money in the world, feel alone and feel like, that's why I was like, you can't look at it like, oh, your basic necessities are met. Because I've met a lot of people who have less than me that literally probably are happier than I am, or more content in themselves, content in their life, as opposed to that's the conversation I had with my mom, because she genuinely was like, I could not believe that you could be feeling feelings of depression, feelings of sadness, because what would you have to be sad about? Right. In a way. But I'm like, you can't measure my emotions. They're mine to have, and everybody is valid in their emotions. And depression is literally a sickness. So it's like, you can get sad about things, but it's really just your brain functions and it like gets the negative connotations of everything. So it's like, even if things are good, it's like a mix of, I feel like, self-sabotage in your head about the way that you perceive stuff. And it's like, you have to really work through that. So it's like, it's fair that people get kind of, I think how I've always looked at depression is that something can trigger it and then it just keeps getting triggered and triggered and triggered. And you can like deviate the trigger if you want to. And that usually takes like talking to someone or realizing it, acknowledgement of it, and then working to fix it. But people don't even acknowledge that they're feeling that way. Right. They just keep wallowing in this weird sense of self-pity that you don't have to do, and some can be more clinical than others, and that goes into a lot of other things. But the main thing I try to always the main conversation or point that I made with that conversation was just like, it's really hard to, you can't put everyone's emotions aren't something that you can't quantify them. Right. You can't. So it's like, it's difficult to sit here and say what someone has, what someone doesn't have. But we're not taught to even be able to try to understand ourselves. If you're not taught to understand yourself, you're always going to be confused, or and like moving through the world, moving the way that the world is now, where everything's up in your face, social media and everything. And it's just 1,000 different ideas coming and people taking the freaking news from Twitter. But God knows half the shit on Twitter is wrong. Right. And it's like, you're sitting here trying to self-diagnose. People are sitting here saying, I'm this, I'm that, I'm that. I'm like, are you, or are you just like, are you relating to it like with astrology? Is your astrology like your personality trait? Are you just relating to this one mean post about it and then whatever? Like, you really have to look at the questions like I don't know. I like to question everything because it's kind of just like, you don't really know what you're consuming these days, and you have to be aware that what you're consuming is not, it's not like sitting here with an annotated bid telling you where every source is of it. No.
Right.
So it's like you have to take I try to take things with a grain of salt.
Always do your own real research.
Always do your own real research and come up with your own conclusions based off of it, because I'm like, yo, you're going to be consuming so much. You're barely going to understand what's going on in the world and not understand yourself if you just take without sitting there and trying to process.
Yeah, and figure out what's real and what's not.
That
whole depression thing, though, it goes back to perspective. Like, it's hard to... You can't use your perspective to copy and paste it on somebody else's life. And that's why it goes back to let people make their own decisions and their own choices instead of forcing them to do this because we think this is righteous and this is how you should act. Because you don't know what people will go through and you don't know people's circumstances and how they're feeling. A big part about that depression thing is I think people fall into the trap of like, I am these feelings rather than I'm experiencing these feelings. I can work around it. You know what I mean? Like, this isn't really me. It's just, chemical imbalances in my chemistry that are making me feel a certain way. Like that for me, kind of detaching from my thoughts did a lot for me. It's like, okay, everything I think isn't true. And I can control my attitude towards things and I can control what I believe. You know what I mean? So if I'm having negative thoughts, I don't have to feed into those. I think that's a good place to start. But I think diagnosing depression, or at least self-diagnosing, like, am I really depressed or am I sad? I feel like
it's hard.
It's hard, and
it's hard.
It should be way more normal to just be like, all right, let me call somebody right now, and like somebody who knows what they're doing. Let me call and get this checked out. I think
even with basic healthcare, I think you gotta throw therapy up in there.
Yeah,
like if you want us to be like you gotta throw a little therapy up in there. Like I think we should be able to all have access, because therapy is so expensive. Like the way that just the average, even like middle class, but you can't just be paying $150 once a week to talk to somebody for 45 minutes. Like to have to go through that for 6 months just to have that maybe one point of
one breakthrough. Like, wow, okay.
It took me 6 months and like a couple $1,000s to get here, but we got here.
Right, I still have much more work to do.
Way more work, but we scratched the surface. Like that. I'm not saying that like it's wrong. Like I'm a supportive there. I'm a supportive of you getting the help. Or I'll say the support, because I don't think help sometimes has a negative connotation, but the support that you need when you need it, I think it should be given with more access. But it's just like, I think a lot of people who need therapy the most are the people who don't have access to it.
Facts. I think that goes back to the education system. Like, what if we raise people to be able to, how you go to take a CPR class, you know how to do CPR? While we're raising our kids, teach them how to like give each other therapy. Like obviously they can't do some expert shit, but how hard is it to really be a therapist, listen to somebody, empathize, and propose solutions? You know what I mean? Like that's really all it is.
To have compassion, to like be able to just like, I feel like basic decency.
Like feel comfortable enough to like I can be vulnerable in this situation. Like I don't have to have my guard up. Me as the listener, I'm not going to judge this person. You know what I mean? Like you can teach that kind of behavior and we could be a much healthier society because of it. I think especially in like lower income communities where the achievement is already not there, quote unquote achievement, just like I'm talking about test scores. Like, okay, in the school I was teaching at, like consistently, like every quarter or every test that we take, like, every 3 months, kids are averaging like 40% on these district exams. We have thousands of kids in the district averaging like 40%. So it's like, all right, instead of wasting our time teaching shit that they're not learning, we could be teaching them useful, tangible skills that they could implement in their day-to-day life. A lot of these kids might not go to college, so why don't we teach them how to be better humans? You know what I mean? That shit just...
Or even just implementing more like job, like not... What is the term that I'm looking for? I just feel like in high school, especially that high school range, you need to learn like, why is finance? Yeah. Like why are you not giving us a personal finance class? Because how the hell am I 18 not knowing what a credit score like? Like I can't imagine if my parents were in my life to be like, hey, this is how you need to manage. Like this is giving me like the bare minimum of how to manage my money. Like my dad is just very big on managing finances. So I was just pushed in that direction to be like, okay, this is what savings is. This is what credit is. This is what the basic. People don't know that. So they come out at 18. They're like, they might have their little job because they're like, they decide they don't want to go to school. They're just going to work. So now it's like, oh, okay, let me get a credit card so that I can have these, so I can get this. And not really realizing what that does, not really realizing how a credit score is going to impact you. You're not teaching us, one, how to go through the society if
how to
we
be a
want
citizen,
like, how to be a citizen. You're not teaching us that. At the same time, you're not teaching us how to be humans in a way, like how to really like feel as humans. So it's just like, what are we doing?
What are we doing?
That's why we're all confused. We're
confused as hell.
It's really funny how people will sit up here, talk about their confusion like on Twitter and TikTok and shit, and you have thousands of people agreeing with you. I'm like, hello, is this not a problem to you guys? We're all laughing about it, but I'm like, yo, like we all have issues.
No, real
we have
shit.
issues that it's like, but we're conditioned kind of to have these issues. Like I'm like, because we're not conditioned to understand shit.
Yeah.
So it's like people come here struggling, and I'm like, fuck, like, why are we not? There's so many things that if we just were learned or taught at a younger age, I don't feel like we'd be struggling with these things as much. But they don't. I don't know who they are because we still don't know who they are.
I still have no idea who they are.
It really comes into the point we don't really know.
And that's why instead of worrying about them, we should be worrying about us. You know what I'm saying? Like, let me get my shit together. There's nothing stopping us from making our own school and implementing these kinds of things. There's nothing stopping anybody from going back to their community and making things better. You know what I'm saying? That's where it comes into, if we can't change like policies, we have to change our culture. That's the one thing that we can control, because like no one's telling black people what's cool. We're telling everybody else what's cool.
We're telling everyone else what's cool. But the thing, it's really complicated because it's like we're not monetizing. Like if we just were able to monetize ourselves better, which I know there's so many things that go into that. I just feel like we could really like control the narrative to a point where it's like, okay, like I don't know how to explain it. It's just like we are the culture. Like there's no like white American culture. American culture kind of is like us.
White American culture.
I don't know what that is.
It's like Friends, isn't it? Friends, Seinfeld, Jennifer Aniston.
So just like dry comedy.
Yeah,
is their culture.
Isn't that funny?
They don't have really any
Full
food.
House. I like Full House.
I liked Full House. I kind of did like Friends too, for a time.
I'm trying to think what else.
So literally dry comedy.
Dry comedy, kind of like
culture.
Kind of like being fake polite to people and in public, people that you don't like.
Medium rare burgers. Like I don't know. Like
drinking a lot. I'd say
beers.
I like beer, but I think that's. I wouldn't say only white people drink beer, but mac and cheese, like
it's like mac and cheese.
Yeah,
they don't even make it right. Theirs aren't even baked. They don't even make their mac and cheese.
No,
right.
But see, I don't want. Okay, this is not a white person slander. You know what I mean?
I'm not even trying. I'm just really asking you, what is their culture?
They have culture. I don't know what it is, but like. That's not my business, you know what I mean? Like,
moral to say is I think that we make the culture, and we'll all say that they feed off our culture, but they always monetize it better, and that's the problem.
That's their culture, is
monetizing our culture?
Colonizing shit, I guess.
You say it like that, I mean, yes.
No, it's
problematic as hell.
Yeah, one thing I don't like is this whole, like, I feel like there is a lot of like white bashing that goes on. And like for me personally, like, I don't want to bash white people at all. It's really more of just like it's like a cynical way of humorizing that they're kind of in control, you know? It's like
I just am like, damn, like if we somehow strip them of the opportunity to like take this shit, like what would they do? That's the question I have. It's not even slander. It's just that we're like the blueprint. So I'm like, damn, if we could just keep that blueprint to ourselves for a little bit and kind of, you know, like in a way, I could just feel like we could flip the narrative. Like you could flip it to where we could have more control, because we are the one creating the ideas. We are the ones in creative control of so many things, of music, of fashion, of like we are. I just like, we are the majority right now in that. So I'm just like, how can we be the majority and still be the minority?
That's what I'm saying. Like
it just triggers me so much, because I'm just like, there should be no reason why they're still like it. But it goes into like, for sports, for example, it's like 70-something% black people playing in the NFL, NBA, but look at the owners.
Nobody owns it. That's what I was just about to say. We should own the entertainment industry. Like, we should own the NFL. We should own the NBA. We should own all
Remember, we're
labels.
puppets, though. So
yeah, we're puppets.
No, sports, they're fully puppets, and they let themselves be puppets.
Like I'm just thinking, all the generations of, like, there's so many millionaire, you know, big. I mean, LeBron's a billionaire. Kobe was making hella money. Just like generations of people getting rich as fuck off of the sports. Michael Jordan, but then it's like there's no coming together and like, all right, let's buy our own shit. Like, we don't need to, you know what I mean? Like, there's just, I just don't see I mean, but I think it goes back to the money. It's like, hey, I'm getting paid off of this, so why risk it for
exactly.
a bunch of motherfuckers who aren't gonna be grateful, who aren't gonna execute? You know what I mean? And that's where that inferiority comes in. It's like, yeah, like why even bother? Because that shit. Yeah.
It's all a circle.
Like, why bother?
When we figure out, oh, we could do this, it's like, okay, here and then here. All of this shit is, it's all a circle.
It's always that, like, all right, we can do this, but then when people start thinking about, all right, how could we actually do it? And then it's just so much doubt and like, yeah, right. Like the motherfuckers aren't doing this. Oh yeah, no, that's not happening. Mm-hmm. I think it's discouraging, but it just goes back to as long as we just keep going, like I think right now we're in the age where it's like we need to spread the information, the ideas more so than maybe the execution. We can like start and like do maybe like smaller projects. I think more people should be trying to, especially if you have a purpose or a cause you want to like impact, you got to start something. Like, I don't know if it's a business organization, but just start something where you can bring people together around something, a theme, and then just start pushing your agenda in any way possible. Like, with us, we're selling clothes, but for the most part, it's like this kind of shit that we really want to sell, like the information, like things that you think about. And so I think that's kind of where we have to start to change the culture. And then as culture starts to change, once we start making healthier people, they'll start taking care of the world. You know what I mean? Like, love people who feel loved, love other people. People who don't feel loved, don't love other people. Like, it's crazy how simple that shit is, but I think that's a good place to start if we wanted to make change. But I do want to ask you some of those questions we were talking about. We've been talking a lot about like policy and shit, like public policy and social issues. Wait, oh yeah, I want to talk about that Meg the Stallion thing and Tory Lanez.
The shooting?
Yeah, because we talked about the conspiracy tip with Astroworld.
Well, didn't they say that? Isn't it okay? Because I don't know. I be listening to Tory. I'll say that right now on this hand. I listen to him, and there's so many girls, particularly women, that get very upset. They look
at you crazy.
Look at me so crazy, and I'm like, I don't know what to tell y'all because y'all like to separate artists from thing all the time. You guys take your pick. Not saying that if he shot her, that is very bad, but wasn't it like the security guard said it was like her friend, and somebody else came out and said, I feel like the case can get dropped. I do. What
do you think really happened? Like, do you think?
I think they got an argument, but from what I was reading, there was another girl in the car, and I think her and the girl started arguing over Tory, which is ridiculous. I don't know how you're arguing ridiculous. Over that man, but anyways, arguing, and I think the short ass man, it blows me every time. I'm like, all of this happened because of him,
right?
His receding hairline.
Like, he's not right. Like, come on, Tory Lanez
of all of them,
he is not somebody to get stressed out about.
So, like, I think they were arguing over him or something that had to do with him, and I think this supposed friend shot her. And
so then
she covered it up with him.
Why? Because she's protecting the friend, or
I think she's protecting the friend. From what my knowledge,
has Tory come out and said I didn't shoot her, or has he been ducking and dodging the question? That's what I think it's still under like legal investigation and shit. Isn't he supposed to give a deposition or something?
Yeah, I mean, testify? There's a whole. The case is still technically open.
It's still open.
So I bet they can't talk about it. Yeah. Whether he shot her, I don't know. For some reason, I do have my like.
Why do you think? Because me personally, I was looking at the story like, all right, there's something here that they're not telling us, or it seems really convenient that right after I'm gonna run straight to Instagram and Twitter and stuff. That's how I know it should be phony. It's like right after it happens. For the
friend, but I don't know why she's using
tweeting
Tory.
Like, oh, let me go on Twitter and this and that, you know. But again, it pushes that narrative like, oh, black men ain't shit, and you know, defend women, blah blah blah. Like, to get people really riled up on social media, emotional, and then they use that to, I don't know, do something. But I personally do think there's more to the story. But the real question is, if he did shoot her, you still listen to his music?
Yes.
Damn.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
Why?
I don't think.
Or I guess the better question is, why do you think people have an issue with it if you do? Because it's like, you're supporting somebody who...
Again, because I really feel like no one's cancelable, and you're going to sit here and take if we sit here and we take every single artist and talk about the worst shit that they've ever done, we're not listening to nobody.
Right.
So we're just not listening to music anymore. Like, it's very hard. I'm a separation person. The only one I can't separate is R. Kelly. R. Kelly is the only one. Every time I hear it, I'm like, damn, I'm picturing him peeing all over.
Especially when you think of that, my mind's telling me no.
It's just ridiculous.
I'm like, wait, what? What is he talking?
I feel like he was singing it through in his music.
No, he really singing it through. That shit is crazy.
That one it just doesn't sit right in my spirit. Now, everybody else, like you're gonna take.
He didn't kill her, right? He just shot her in the foot.
It's not okay. I'm not sitting here trying to be like it's okay. Like if he did shoot her, that's not okay. I'm just an avid fan, so it's just really hard. Like I listen to him. I don't listen to Megan Thee Stallion like that. So it's just
right.
like,
so there's a little bit of bias there.
Remember my bias? Yeah.
But even so, if you didn't like either artist, you would still be like, I mean, it's Tory Lanez. Like, yeah, he's.
I wouldn't.
Would you?
I wouldn't care. Like if
Yeah.
like if I'm somewhere, if I wasn't really. If I didn't listen to both artists, but I was aware of the situation, but let's say like you literally played him right now, I would not be like, oh my God, like why are you?
That's distasteful.
Some people would, and I don't blame them, but it's like, y'all have to keep the same energy. Keep the same energy. I'm a person of keep the same energy with everything. So if you're gonna, but those are the same girls that are probably gonna listen to like Chris Brown. Like,
right.
You know, like I'm saying, like that's where I'm like they're saying Drake's over here talking to a bunch of underage girl, but y'all still don't listen to Drake. Like, you know, or I guess with whatever Kanye, you're gonna still listen to Kanye. Or like, I'm just convinced Jay-Z had done some crazy shit in his life. You're gonna listen to Jay-Z, like, you know. So it's just like, keep that same energy. You're still gonna listen to Doja Cat after the whole white supremacy
again,
thing.
I still be on Twitter. I'd be like, wait, didn't she just? Because I was so confused. Like,
I didn't understand what it was.
I thought for sure she was done after I saw that. I was like, oh, okay. Like,
no, they kind of forgot. I think they just collectively decided to forget about it.
I think, again, it goes to those, whoever they are, like, they say, all right, cool, we're going to humiliate you. But then after that, it's kind of going to blow you up, you know?
Right.
And then...
It happened right before that George Floyd shit.
It happened right before that George Floyd shit?
Yeah.
Very convenient. Like, don't worry, we'll just execute this nigga in public and everybody will be over it. Sorry, I didn't forget. I can't stand it. And the music doesn't even sound that good. Like, objectively speaking.
She has a few songs. She has some songs on her. I feel like all of these people have some songs on them. But like, no, I'm not gonna sit here and be like Doja Cat's like.
I like Meg Thee Stallion. Like, I have Meg Thee Stallion. She has some bangers, but I don't know Doja.
For some reason, I've never really listened to Megan. It's maybe just because I like that tongue like thing. I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like hearing it over and over again. But it's also like a lot of female rappers though. I have sometimes some issue with the way that what they're rapping about. So ever since like my little sister started to get older, because she is 13, so seeing her in that like little preteen age and the things she'll talk to me about, so if she listens to the music,
right,
like,
oh shit, sorry,
no, you're good. I don't like half the shit that they're saying. I don't want her to hear that, and I don't want her to like think it's just hypersexualizing themselves. And then I just think it makes impressionable young girls are gonna hear that and be like, oh, I need to do this and this for attention to be. Yeah. It's programming,
and they're targeting. It's targeted to the younger generation. They're not selling that shit to people who are 35.
Yeah, so it's just like, I think it's the narrative. I'm not saying like, oh my God, like it's okay, like you can rap about what you want to rap about, but I'm just like, damn, like y'all don't got shit else to say other than like about your bodies and like finessing men and
but
this and that.
Do you think, here's my question, do you think you can even get popular without rapping about shit like that?
No.
Yeah.
No,
again, it's because we don't control, like they're controlling the industry. So it's like, look, if you want to be famous, this is what you got to do. This is what you got to look like. I don't even know if you're getting famous if you're not sexy.
That's true, because like, some of them can't really. Like, Sweetie can't rap.
I'm sorry, I am not a Sweetie fan at all. That shit.
But do you think she's an attractive woman?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she.
I wouldn't say disproportionately from regular chicks. I think she just got the surgery. You know what I'm saying? Like.
Yeah, she did too much with her hip, but that's a whole other.
Yeah. But like, she definitely is certainly not even close to the top talented. You know what I'm saying? I've met people in person more talented.
Absolutely not. She had this one. Have you ever seen that freestyle she did? I don't even know for what radio show it was, but basically she asked to freestyle. They didn't even want. I was like, they were trying to save you.
They're like, no.
They were like, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. And she's like, no, I got it. And she's like, be honest with me. So then she rapped. And they were like, the shit was basically mid, and then she wants to get mad about it. Like he was like, I mean, it just wasn't good. It wasn't anything I haven't heard before. Like it's literally what he's telling her to her face, and she's sitting here trying to get defensive. I'm like, you literally asked for this though, so you have no right. You have to sit there and you have to listen to what they have to say.
Right, and you know you're not with it. You
know you can't do it, so why are you doing it? And the thing is, with Sweetie makes me funny because I'm like, just off influencing, and marketing alone. Like, you're good at that shit. And people, like, they like you enough at this point. So I'm like, you literally don't ever have to make music again, which I think would serve you. But she's going to continue. I guess that's her passion. Or I don't know what it is. It gave her the door.
Right.
But you can close that one door. You still got a lot of other doors open. I don't understand why, like, she's just not a good rapper. But she's beautiful and sexy in that way. So that sells. People naturally gravitate to more attractive people. It's just a fact.
Right.
So it's like her, but let's take an actual talented rapper. Let's say like you know who Chica is?
Mm-mm.
I might have listened to Chica. She's like she's just not conventionally attractive. She's not, but she's a rapper. Right. She can rap. Like,
that's the thing. Like they're like, yeah, we don't care if you can rap.
You don't care.
Can you shake that ass? That's what we're worried about.
Yeah. So
can you
it's
wear
just
this?
like,
And yeah.
That's really what it is these days. Like all of these, there's some that can rap. Like I think Mulatto can rap, or Lotto now, I guess, because she changed her name.
Yeah, I want to say that name always sat really weird with me. I was like, doesn't that have like racist origins?
It does, and I don't know why she did it, honestly. But she was saying that it was normalized. Like for her, it was normalized. Like I remember in one interview, she's like, I was like in the South, and people would just say like, call me that, but I'm like, I'm from North Carolina. People were not calling people mulatto.
Yeah, I'm like, say, like
what? Like we were not calling people that in the South.
Did you grow up in the 50s?
That's what I'm saying. Like I was like, I don't know why you're trying to say that, and you're trying to put the whole South into
right
that.
now everyone looking at the South like that's what y'all are on down there. Like,
hey, literally, so when she said that, I was like, bro, what are you talking about? Like, no, we don't. I mean, maybe people do, but like, not any area I've been in, and I grew up in the South, so I'm like, there's no way. Like, it sat wrong, and she knew it was wrong. And the thing is, though, is like, I don't even think she had to change her name. I really don't.
She did. Nobody was tweeting.
No, I mean, like they were saying stuff every once in a while, but you just had people on Twitter being like, "Oh my god," blah 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 blah, and going about their day. I think she did it just to appease like everyone. She didn't have to. She probably still have the same amount of opportunity and fame, if not with the same thing. And people still are gonna call like I'm in my brain. And when I said mulatto, I was like, "Oh shit!" I keep forgetting you changed your name. But even then, mulatto like.
We know
still know what it is. Like still know what it is. It's not like she did anything drastic. So I always thought that was weird. I think it's very weird that like that, like light skinned Keisha, like all of these rappers that like Asian Doll's not Asian at all. Why are you Asian Doll for? You know who Asian Doll is? The one who was like with King Von.
Oh yeah, okay.
She's not Asian at all. Like there's another
weird.
one, Tokyo Jet. She was like I named myself that because I have slanted eyes that look like Asian, quote unquote Asian eyes. I swear to God, like that was literally what she said. And I'm looking at this like,
is that racist?
I don't even know if it's that. I just think that a lot of women try to like exotify themselves and try to disassociate from their blackness as a sign of acceptance and beauty. Because if it's not like, I feel like it's perpetuated a lot in our culture and like the music and everything, that it's like, okay, if you're not light skin, like with the BBL body and curly hair from a different country, like whatever, like that's the ideal. That's what they think like men 100% want. Like that's it. So if I'm not that, let me see how close I can get to that. Mm-hmm. Like that's literally all beauty standards to me is like kind of weirdly centered. In my opinion, a lot of it's centered on like you might not be white, but I think colorism itself is just about how close are you to white. That measures your attractiveness.
Is Kylie Jenner and Kim Kardashian, are they the quote unquote standard? Do you think
I think Kim was for a while. I really do think Kim was for a while the standard of beauty.
Because it's like white.
I think she's the one who genuinely pushed that BBL like figure and like narrative and how it's been normalized. And it's very interesting, actually. I think what's very interesting to me about plastic surgery culture, as my uncle is a plastic surgeon in Atlanta. So
I know he's making racks.
My uncle has one of the largest private practices in Atlanta that they are wealthy. Sweet. Like very sickly rich and they're just feeding off all of these girls in Atlanta. Like he is. He's feeding off social media. He's so funny to me because he just does like he always is looking at us like, no, you'll never like he's always been adamant. He's like, I would never support it. Like though that is his profession, he's like, I never support it. I just seeing it on a day to day. He's like, I would never do any surgery for you guys. You don't like. He's the type to be like, oh, you're beautiful the way that you are, like whatever, which is cool and all, but you could tell me 100 times I'm beautiful the way that I am, and then I go on social media and see people that don't look like me, don't have my body type, don't have whatever. What do you expect me to think? Like it's not gonna feel beautiful, and that's a lot that I feel like with like younger, like I'm concerned for like my sister's generation because they're seeing women go to the extremes to be quote unquote accepted. But at the same time, I've noticed that there's like, I think you know how like beauty standards have changed over the years. I really think this is just a trend thing. Yeah. Which to me, to put my body through that, to put my body through potential death, because it really is like, especially BBLs, it's like if the fat gets in your bloodstream, instant death. So it's a very dangerous surgery. Like, my uncle has had people die on that surgery table. Like, I don't know how many. I just know that he has. And it's like, but you're signing yourself away to like not being sued or anything like that. Just to, I can't imagine if I died off a BBL trying to get my butt done. My mom how embarrassed she would be.
So embarrassed.
Just to,
and then like
the thing is, like, you can't, and I refuse. Like, I'm just a real person, so I'm like, you cannot sit here and tell me you want to get your body done. Like, I believe in self-confidence. I feel like if you have, like, I think things like noses and stuff like that, it's like, okay, whatever. Like, a boob reduction, if it hurts your back, I get it. But a whole BBL, there's nothing about you having a butt or not having a butt, quote unquote, that in my opinion is not for attention.
Yeah, it's all for attention.
It's all for attention. And like, girls will really they get mad. I'm like, you're doing it for attention. A part of you is doing it for attention. If not all the way through, it's attention. A little bit. Because you put it in your mind that I have to have this certain figure, this certain body part to be accepted, to be attractive.
For people to look at me.
For people to look at me. That's what you're doing it for. You can't tell me any other way.
Right, you're gonna be taking pictures and going out looking cute. You're not doing that shit for
You're not doing that shit because it makes you feel good when you sit at your house. Like, it doesn't matter.
I think it is bogus. Like, make all these people making hella money off of women's growing insecurities induced from social media. It goes back to what we were talking about with the social dilemma. Like, people who are making these, like Twitter, Instagram, they're not letting their kids get on. Steve Jobs didn't let his kids have an iPad. You know what I'm saying? Your uncle's like, yo, you're not getting no surgery.
Yeah,
but
but he's gonna do it for anybody else.
Yeah, anybody else.
He literally was like, if you have friends, I want to, like, always throw them a thing, throw them a little discount. You're sick. But
you sick.
You're so sick. But like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, they're gonna want their money. I understand they're like feeding into it. I definitely think it's a trend thing. I think what's gonna actually happen is that this is gonna trend out. Like, I do think that, and I think that it's not gonna be. Do you
think we're gonna be going back towards natural or more towards more extreme?
Maybe more extreme for a little bit and then to natural. I really do.
What do you think's gonna push it back to natural? If shorties are making money dying. Off that BBLs? Oh, death.
Death.
But what if people ain't dying? What if we get safer?
I just think that people are like
technology.
I always tell people when they're like, "Oh, I'm interested in this and that." I'm not saying I'm against plastic surgery. I'm just about to send you videos of all of the statistics and everything. I am that type. I'm gonna be like, look, you need to know how dangerous, like, because it really, a lot of that, like, the idea of just putting myself through potential death like that just for attention is just the most backwards shit I could ever think of. Like, I will never wrap that around my head to be like, that's acceptable, that makes sense. It won't. Like, I'm like, I do believe that it can be hard out here. I do believe that there's a level of, like, and maybe I'm speaking through privilege in that because I don't feel like I have to do anything, so that's maybe my privilege.
I honestly think women, they get to the competing and all this, but I think it's because there's a certain caliber of men that they want, that they're trying to compete for, because there's not a lot of quote unquote that type of man. I feel like they're not doing it to get average, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I feel like any girl, you could say, oh, she's ugly, she's a 5, she's still pulling motherfuckers, you know what I'm saying? Like, you go on Tinder, you could have the ugliest pictures, motherfuckers are still gonna be swiping right thirsty in your DMs. So I feel like it's definitely not a lack of options for women, but it's like, this is what I want, this is what I think they want, because I'm seeing the attention that people are getting off social media and I'm trying to emulate it. But I'm gonna switch from that to that Brittany Renner thing. Do you know about that whole situation?
Yeah, I know.
Did you see her on DJ Academics?
Yep. Yes, and she's dumb.
I was gonna say, did that change your perspective?
Okay, you know what I'll say though? The only thing I'm gonna give her, you can be simultaneously right and wrong. I do believe that. I believe that you can be right and wrong in a situation. I think the only thing that she said in that interview that held up was the fact that I do think grooming has happened within the industry and men aren't held accountable as much. I think that's right.
Yeah, I agree with
now,
that.
do I think we need to be comparing in this? No, you groomed this man. I do think you trapped this man. You're also a hoe that doesn't want to, like, I just believe that. Like, you're for the industry. That's just a fact, right?
So you think she was lying about, no, like, I really thought that was my guy. And, like, the kid's name is, like, PJ Washington III or whatever.
You could maybe think that that's your guy, but the thing is, you have to also, like, acknowledge you groomed him. There's no way that you, as an Instagram model with millions of likes, and you probably have the access to all of these men, whatever. You saw him playing, like going to his college game, like, that's weird.
College games.
That's weird. Like, he's what, my age? She's what, 22? What is she, 26, 27?
I think she's like, yeah, like 26 or 27. Is that bad though?
When you're 18, having a girl of 24 who is glorified in the media comes, right. They're like, Like, you're impressionable at that age, of course. Like, of course, I don't know what, like, of course. He's impressionable. I just think that's what it is.
Yeah. She's 29? Oh, yeah, okay.
That's ridiculous. Okay, I was over here giving her a few younger years. Like, my bad. Never mind. She old.
But
that's old.
But is it? Because then she was like, well, I didn't force him to nut in me. And like, I didn't
no,
force
she
him
didn't. But
and they got quote unquote married. Then I guess she realized that he's not the one. I would have asked, if I would have been DJ Academics, I'd been like, okay, but you guys were married for like 2 weeks or like 2 months, whatever it is. Like,
it's still impressionable. He's still fucking young. Like, that. I'm not saying, listen, my parents also have an age gap. So when I saw this, I literally was looking at my dad. I was like, what if you grew my mom?
How big of it?
9 years.
When did they meet? Did they say?
Yeah, my mom met him when she was 25.
So is that really grooming?
That's what my mom said. She was like, it wasn't really great. She was like, it's not, she got mad when I said it like that because I was like, I'm just wondering, did he groom you or not? She was old, I think, a little older.
You're 25, right?
No, I'm 22.
Oh shit.
I'm young.
So you wouldn't date a 30-year-old dude?
No.
You capping.
I'm not. A 30-year-old? What am I gonna do with a 30-year-old? I just feel like
probably
the humor's
take
not
care
gonna.
Of and enjoy your life.
Yeah, probably. But I just feel like the connection aspect's not gonna be there. I think I'm a little too.
You know, men are already a little less.
I mean, I don't have an issue with dating older. I don't think 30 is a little bit of.
30 is a little bit old.
I would have kept it at 27, 26, 27.
Okay, how about you meet a guy who's 30 and they just happen to be cool? Then what?
I don't know.
Because is it really the age or is it just the perceived differences?
I think it would be just the mechanism of how it goes about. Like, if you, I guess I can't really. I guess let's say Brittany really did hit it off with this boy. Like,
this
but
boy,
I'm gonna say boy. Like, let me emphasize.
Like
I'm saying boy.
Old,
he was an 18-year-old. So I just really don't understand what can. And if you're saying that men develop slower, so let's say 16 in the mind, you're trying to tell me that you can connect on a deep level enough of like quote unquote marriage and all of that, like to someone that I'm not saying it's impossible. I just don't think that's really how it went, especially just the way that she's moved in the past.
Right.
How quickly, like, she had that baby, and I mean, they were like done after that.
Like immediately.
So it's not like you like stuck around, y'all were like, I mean, who knows? We don't know the situation.
We don't know the whole story.
We don't know. So maybe they were going through things, they were like trying to work through things through the pregnancy. Maybe it didn't work out, but it's also like, if that's the case, he didn't help that narrative. Like, to me, I would think that.
And that's what she was saying. She was like, I don't know why he's tweeting. I mean, we don't know what.
We don't know, but I
like.
just don't see, like, if it was genuine, I would, as PJ, I would have just been like, it was genuine, it didn't work out, let's call it a day. Like, stop saying that I was being impressed. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, but he is definitely.
He's on there talking about, oh, you played me, like that.
So I really think she did, because I just wouldn't want to be put as like a victim and look weak. It kind of looks weak and vulnerable on his end. So any man, I can only imagine that you guys wouldn't want to look weak and vulnerable to the public eye. So why would you? Basically, he hasn't outright said yes, but basically,
I think I mean, this is just kind of playing devil's advocate. He could be like embarrassed, and it's like, all right, if I play the victim card, then it's like not as bad on me.
I think it looks bad on him. So it's just unfortunate for him.
It's definitely unfortunate.
It's just an unfortunate situation.
He's paying for it, literally
like that.
Like literally paying for it.
And I mean, she, if anything, she got the financial security out the boy.
I think the issue is like her messaging afterwards. Like, she went to another campus talking about hide your sons or whatever.
You don't care.
That's the issue. And then get on his academic shit talking about, oh, you know, it's I didn't do anything wrong type shit and blah blah blah.
It was her trying to be like, how am I a side chick and because I'm beautiful? He was like, you wrote a book. Like, you're right. Like, I think he made a lot of points. And I think she just didn't hold her points up as well, or she hasn't been holding her points up as well for this whole situation.
Because she was talking about she was like, look at Beyonce and their age gap, and I was just like,
I do think Beyonce was groomed though. I agreed with that. Probably. Beyonce was like fucking 18 and he was 30. It was like a
wait. But when they met, it wasn't like that.
I think she was young.
I guess no, they probably met young. Yeah.
Yeah, like young. Like I think she was 18 when they met. They never like confirmed they were dating for a while though. I don't really know the details of like Beyonce. I'm not one of those like beehive people to know, but I'm pretty sure like they were dating for a while. They just never confirmed it, and they're like on and off. But he was like fucking 30, so I can't imagine me at 18 falling in love with a 30-year-old. To the point, and I get like, okay, like I think the difference is that they end up getting married and then having the kid. Like her,
they do have and then on the surface level, it looks like
I think that shit's a fucking mess. it gives me messy.
Is that why Solange was beating his ass?
Yeah, there has to be. What other reason is she beating his ass in an elevator for her. She has that whole Lemonade album. Like,
and what's up with that? Like, oh yeah, we're cheering for Solange for beating up Jay-Z.
I don't know, because we don't know what the situation was. So how can I say it was good for her to be beating people up in an elevator? Because I wouldn't condone.
Don't you think it's celebrated though? I feel like that's celebrated. And
but why? Women always celebrate.
I mean, I guess because like, yeah, but then if Jay-Z just knocks her ass out, then it's a problem. You know what I mean? That's why
jail him. They cancel him, divorce him. They'd be screaming. They already don't like Jay-Z and them together. Girls don't like Jay-Z. Ever since Lemonade, you always have like those little beehive girls that just like fuck Jay-Z. I'm like, I mean, she's with him still.
She's with him.
If she's with him,
she's not saying,
and she's not saying that. How are y'all gonna say that? Trying to speak on, like, first of all, I think people have a very sick relation to artists. They be thinking that they're involved in their lives.
They're trying to live vicariously.
Yes, they are. And I'm like, you don't even know what the fuck's going on, because we're seeing bits and pieces that literally they want us to see for the most part. Every once in a while we see like the elevator thing, something comes out that wasn't supposed to be seen, whatever. But it's like, for the most part, people, like, if you think about it, all of us are giving out a narrative on social media. Right. Like, I'm not gonna give you like all the hardships and like the trial, the tribulations, the things for y'all to know what's going. We don't know. We're seeing a snapshot of everybody's life. You're literally seeing the highlight of everyone's life. Right. Cool. The facade. So if we're already giving out a facade, why do you think they're giving you their real shit? And why do you feel like you deserve to know their shit? Right. That's the thing that kills me. People literally think that they're like, well, why haven't they said anything about this, that, and that? I'm like, they don't have to. And that's why I can never be famous. I like my privacy too much.
Yeah, not being able to go to the grocery store and shit. Without people swarming you. Being like Kanye throwing a white man's mask.
Yeah, like.
That shit was funny to me. I saw that.
He's so funny.
No, like, he's funny as hell. No. When him and Kim Kardashian got married, I thought it was fake. I thought it was kind of like some setup shit. You know what I mean? Like, it just seems so industry. But
still seems industry.
He be real genuine about it though. Like,
he said, that is my wife. Where are papers? He kept saying that through the whole interview. I was like, all right.
Like, okay, sure.
As she's on a roller coaster with Pete Davidson, like, okay. Because I don't know what's going on with that.
I can't believe that. Pete Davidson?
I don't know. He be running through. He be pulling. Pete Davidson be pulling.
So you basically saying you saw Pete Davidson at the club, you'd be like, oh, hey, Pete.
No, but I didn't say that. I said he.
What if he's just spitting that crazy game? You're like, whoa, I like Pete Davidson.
I can't imagine him spitting game though. I can't imagine what words would come out. I just feel like he's just literally reenacting SNL skit to my face, and I just be like,
what the fuck?
But
he pulled Kim Kardashian though, so who knows?
I don't know. I feel like the way, I mean, everybody's attracted to their own different thing. I just get confused at what people, like, some people be looking at them like, how, why, how, but I can't say that because clearly I'm just implementing my own viewpoints of what I would find attractive and not maybe I'm just pick. I don't know. People are weird. Like, the shit that y'all like is weird to me, but
what about it is weird, or what?
I just think people don't look for the right things in people, and that's why all of this shit's fucked up. You're looking at a man, like, exactly. You're like, let's say for example, I was literally at Story yesterday, right? And you know the setup of like the sections and the tables.
I've actually never been to Story, but I can imagine. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
so you've been to the. Okay, let's just talk about if you're at the club and you know, like, you have the GM people who are standing, whatever, and then you have people in the sections, and most of the time it's like men who buy the section and just bring like random girls, whatever. Anyways, I privilege off that. Like, I benefit off that, so I can't sit here and be like, oh my god, that's bad. But the mechanism of the, like, okay, so girls are gonna see the man who has the biggest bottles or throwing the most money or whatever, and they're gonna gravitate there because like, that's where the money is.
Sparkle shit. Yeah, exactly.
The girls going like this, whatever. The club, I hate the club.
The signs and shit.
The signs and everything. But the thing is, it's like, a woman, like, I mean, you could see a cute guy, like, that's cool and all, but a man who's more attractive that might be like in GM, and then you see a man who might be less attractive, but he's throwing money, he's getting bottles, he's whatever. Where's the girl more than likely going to gravitate to? Right. The money, not the look. And who knows? Maybe the GM man works for, he probably could have it. Like, you can't say just because somebody didn't buy a section that night that they don't have money or they don't have whatever. Everything's very surface. I think what people look for now is so surface level. You're not connecting on a real level with people. So then when you start to actually realize who the person is, you're like, okay, this shit's not it, without taking the time to get to know people. And I think the priorities are a little off now. I'm a believer of security, so I'm not saying finances don't matter or anything like that if you're really looking for a partnership, but a lot of girls aren't looking for that. They're just looking for who's gonna buy me a bag, who's gonna whatever, and then base that off of that's love.
So do you agree with the statement that women or girls, whatever you want to say, prefer, or they like men for what they are versus who they are?
Both.
Which one do you think is more important? Like what the man? What
I think who
they
are. Me personally, I think it's who
I'm just saying in general.
But in general, maybe the way it's perpetuated what they are, but I don't think that's real relationships. Like I don't think it to me can't be real. It can't be genuine if all you're looking for is what they have, and it's like the moment they don't have that anymore, then they're worth nothing, or you can't love them, then that's not real. So if you want to say like maybe that is how women are looking at it, but then they're just not. They're looking at everything from the surface level. You're not taking the time to actually know it's real. I think a lot of that stems from the fact that you're not being real with yourself. Like if I'm not being real with myself, I don't even know what I like as a person. I don't know myself. How am I going to try to find somebody that I can connect with? I don't know what the fuck I like. And a lot of people are just like, a lot of girls these days are just in a place where they're just like, oh, I want to like, they prioritize looking good and the way that other people view them.
Right.
So they'll look at a man as an extension of how they're viewed. So of course they'll be like, oh, I want the man with money, the man with this, the man with that, because it's gonna look good on me. Mm-hmm. But deep down, what makes you feel? Does that make you feel good? Do you feel fulfilled? I'm not. You could be. You
Maybe,
could.
Right.
They could. Shoot, I really can't. And I'm not saying that every man with money it's they have nothing else to offer but money. I'm not saying that at all. But it's like, I feel like just no one knows themselves enough to try to know other people, or they're not going into things with proper intention. So it's like if your intention isn't even right, like you're not even in there for pure intention, you're never gonna find, I think, that like that connection in a way. But it's like at the same time, I do understand why you would, like, on a security base. My dad, again, like how I was saying, like my dad's always been a natural provider. I definitely gravitate to that when it comes to men. It's like I want to feel. I don't blame any woman for that. You want to feel like you can be taken care of. I think that is a lot of what a relation. Even like men are looking for women that they know will take care of them. It's like it may be like in a different way, or maybe in the same way. Who knows? Whatever the dynamic is, it's like we all want to just feel loved and taken, like cared for. So it's like I think they blindside that care as like, oh, material things and like whatever, without connection. I think this generation lacks connection.
It's, you know, I heard somebody say this the other day. It's like as you become more connected online, we become less connected in real life.
People don't even know how to talk to people anymore. Yo, and I thought about, like, I really feel bad. My youngest sister, like, this quarantine has definitely like I think affected her social capabilities because she's young.
How old is she?
She's 13. So she
I have a what's she, 15? Oh, like a 15-year-old sister.
Yeah. She like she I feel like she went back. So she basically like went into 6th grade. Then like COVID happened. All of 7th grade was online, and now she's back in at the end of middle. She missed all of middle school. Moral is she missed all of middle school. She went back there like it was the first day of school. She was like, I haven't seen these people in so long, and I only got 1 semester to connect with them.
And they're all wearing masks too?
And they're all wearing masks. I don't know anybody.
Holy
I didn't like it. It's like, you know, she doesn't like, it's literally new for her. And she was so nervous. And I'm like, why are you acting like, I took her to her open house. Like, why are you acting like a weirdo? Like, cause I mean, I never was like that as a kid. I was really outspoken.
Don't call her a weirdo.
I was looking at her like, why are you being, well, you're being weird.
You're
like,
weird.
And she was like, I'm not trying to be weird. I just don't know how to talk to anybody. Like some kids were talking, so I'm like, go talk. She's like, stop. And I was like, okay, so we're looking. I was like, okay, so she's standing right next to me. And I'm like, I'm not gonna be here on the first day of school. Right. So I need you to be able to like, and I can tell she's naturally a little more reserved, but I'm just like, it definitely affects your like that online shit affects your social. Definitely. I'll ask her like, I'm like, oh, when you guys do lunch, because when I had to drop off her lunch, and I'm like saying that they'll because of COVID, they'll go eat lunch outside when the weather's good. So they have like groups where they sit outside. Well, I'm handing her off her lunch. And then I like notice when I was going back to the car, that girl's not talking to nobody. They're not all talking. They're all on like their phones, watching TikToks. Jeez. So I'm just like what is happening here in a way? Scary. Yeah, because I'm just like, are y'all gonna be able to connect with each other? It's like human connect. I mean, I don't know. Like, if it keeps going on the way that it is, where people are just dead on their phone, they're not gonna like. We lack. My mom always says that. She's like, I don't even understand how you guys meet people anywhere when you guys go out and stuff. It's so different from when she would be going out like in her 20s and stuff. Yeah. Because she came to America in her 20s and she was like, yeah, when we go out, it's like we don't have our phone, so everybody has to be in the moment. And she always said she thinks it was beneficial because it was like you're not seeing everything. Like the thing is with us, I think the reason why we're so we won't like settle for a lot of things. We won't settle in a job, in a relationship, whatever, is because we see all the
grass is always greener.
It's always greener, right?
Yeah. So
it's like, damn. But like my mom, it was like, you got what you saw. So if I went to a party, like she met my dad at a party actually. Lit. She was like, if I go to a party, I see a man.
In America?
In America.
Lit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, like I see a guy, I think he's cute. Like that's all I have to base off of, or I base off of everything else I have in front of me, or the other options I've seen in my life. If you think about it, if we did not have social media, you just did not have the access to see other people as much. We wouldn't be like,
people would be way happier.
You'd see more relationships. You'd see like, I just think we wouldn't always just having to be like, oh, we could do more, you could get more, you could get better. Mm-hmm. Like I just feel like chasing that narrative of like better, it can be healthy in a way, but it can also not, because it's just like, are you ever gonna feel content in yourself, content in your life? Are you ever gonna like, I think it's harder these days to get, like significantly harder to get in a relationship off that alone. Like
Thanks. I was like, damn, I've been single a long ass time, but I don't even know where to meet people that I would want to be with. You know, like I don't like going out is versus like if you don't go out, like what else? Where do you even meet people at? School you work with?
Where you work?
I work remote. I don't go to school. It's like shit. What the fuck?
My job has all older. I'm the youngest person there, and it's like, it's just a bunch of like older people. I'm not meeting anyone in the workplace, especially through like a virtual thing. I'm not gonna, like, that doesn't happen. And then it's like, since I think everybody's so social media driven, it's just like social media is the new like mechanism to meeting people. But even then, it's like you're meeting people at their highlight reel. So it's like you don't even actually know them, talking about like sliding in their DMs saying you want to take them out and shit, but you don't even fucking know them. You know them from this highlight reel that you think
they look like,
which technically you're just taking it off of typically just physical attraction alone, and maybe like you've seen a few things that they've said that you're like, oh, I relate to, or oh, like whatever. You don't actually know the person. So then it's like, what if you get on that date? Then it's like they don't even fucking look like that. Like, there's so many factors that go into.
That's happened to me a couple times. Or a factor, I was like, man, this sucks. And then you're like, damn, like I'm about to drop a hell of money, spending like an hour with this person. This kind of sucks. I don't want to be rude. Then I just be like, all right, let me just enjoy the time. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, just got finessed. Yeah. But that's what happens when you're just going off of a screen
that they're literally being like, okay, like I know, like. Let me not do that because I play too much on social media anyway. But like I don't really care a lot, but it's also like I care because like I'm not gonna post a picture where I look bad, and right. like I'm just not like, why would I do that? I'm not gonna do that.
Stupid.
So it's just dumb. So it's like I'm not on my like everyone has better days than not, like whatever. So it's just like it's hard to be like, people get used to seeing that face on that screen and they think that that's how they look 24/7. That's funny to me. I'm like, y'all should know better by now. That's not, you just have to.
You wake up in the morning, you know damn well what you look like.
You know, like, and the thing, but some people really act as if that's how, like that's when it gets to me, because I'm like, I know, like, what you see on my social media is not how I'm gonna look 24/7. I wouldn't act like that per se, but it's also like, I'm not about to do like, oh, just woke up, hi guys, and post it and be in like my bonnet, and like, why would I do that? Like, you know, like people aren't doing that. So then it's just the realism, like it's not real, and then people think it's real and then they feel bamboozled. I'm like, how can you when you're also only posting your highlight reel? So it's like, and I think it's a little different for women because we have a lot of mechanisms to manipulate ourselves in a way, if you want to say it like that. Some people more than others. So it's like, I don't think anything's wrong with, like, you know, your hair. Like, I don't think anything's wrong with it per se. It's just, I think the way that men look at it, and I think you guys expect, like, I don't know if y'all expect that we would look like that 25. I don't know what it is. And I don't know. And then the stigma of natural beauty, but I'm like, is it that you want people to, like, you care about natural beauty? You only care about natural beauty when it looks a certain way. I think about that often. Y'all say y'all love, like, it also kills me. What kills me about this natural beauty thing is that that's not an issue. The aspect of, like, women should have the self-love enough about themselves and how they look with nothing done, like whatever in their natural state. But it's like, a guy will tell them that, like, oh, like, I like girls who are natural, and then you see them in the likes of everything that's not fucking natural. And I'm like,
Well, you can't like both. It's like, hey, like, you know, this is fake, but I don't mind it. You feel me? But I like the natural shit too. You know what's wrong with that?
But again, what do you like? Do you like natural beauty, or do you like a natural beauty that looks a certain way?
Well, I guess you could say
I believe in preference, but I also think that we have to really unpack where the preferences come from and the biases come from.
but people would be like, I like what I like. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's fair again, but like I think like I'm just like acknowledge that a lot of this is like it's rooted in like colorism and fucking you're just like it is a lot of it's rooted in just like there is a certain demographic that I think desirability politics. It really is just like it caters. So it's just like honestly, if you take a girl who like the light skin, curly hair, whatever, versus somebody who is like the
thick 4C.
Yeah, the 4C hair, who's dark skin, like whatever, like
yeah.
You know, it's just like I just am like
yeah.
Let's be real here.
That colorism, I never knew how bad it was again until I was teaching and like I had little girls saying like, "Oh, I'm ugly because I'm black as shit." Like I heard that like all the time. I was like,
sad.
"Damn, that's really sad." Like
I never really struggled
really
with
sad.
it in a way. Like I never had that issue because I just never had that issue personally. But like watching other people, I'd be like, "Oh my god!" And I don't know. Again, maybe it's just because like I don't know. I haven't had that issue in life. And maybe that's a privileged thing. Like it's like I've always like men are so weird. So the first thing they're always gonna ask me is where I'm from because I don't look black.
You do look. I mean,
I am black.
I would have known you were like Eastern African, but most people don't know.
They try to figure out where I'm from. So that's first of all, that's the first thing most men are gonna say to me if they don't, or they'll bring it up. It's like it's literally one of the first things. Like
I'd probably be victim to that too. I'd be like, where you from? Like, I mean, it's just because you don't look like, I guess, what people say, quote unquote, regular black person would look
right,
like.
exactly. But what is that?
What is regular?
What is
right?
regular? So that's
it's crazy that we have
actually,
that idea.
It usually does piss me off when I go out or something. It's the first thing, or when I feel like it's just hyper push, or like when men are like, "Oh my god, you look exotic." This, I'm like, ew. Like it's just because I know where that's rooted in, and I have no issue with. I love my culture. I love where I'm from. I love my people. I know that. Honestly, like a lot of people from like we have a certain look, and that look it feeds into Western beauty standards, but like on dark skin, like whatever. So we have a lot of attractive people, quote unquote, from like what that standard of attraction is. Mm-hmm. A lot, especially the women, a lot of them are like they are. So it's just like I'm not gonna sit here and be like that's wrong or that's bad. It's just like
it's like why
what's it rooted in?
Yeah, like,
that's all I want it to be like. Just be honest about what it's rooted in, because there should be no reason why a lot like if I talk to men and they're like, oh, like I just love that about you. You just don't look like you're from. It's like a flex to them. I'm like, bro,
it's like a flex. Like,
okay, cool.
You're not a regular black.
And
like,
being in North Carolina, like there's not a lot, so that shit was really like amplified to me. Yeah, because they're looking at me like the fuck.
Do you feel like it's like they're not liking you for who you are? It's
yeah, sometimes
like
I do feel that way. Sometimes they like I don't know if I think I was talking to Justin about this when I was like we were talking about the hair thing. Do you remember that? I don't know if he's listening. We were talking about the hair thing, and I was talking about cutting my hair off. Yeah. And a lot of it I really was sitting there thinking like, am I going to be deemed as still attractive if I cut my hair? Because I was like a lot of the quote unquote beauty that I feel like, or like compliments that I get or whatever, was always on my hair. Like it'd be like they'd look at that, or like the curly hair, like whatever, that stigma that I'm like I fed into. I guess I benefited off from, but I was like, if it's not here, am I still going to be desirable? Right. That was actually a question I was asking myself. I'm kind of like, fuck it. But anyways, like that's like...
Because your hair used to be a lot longer, right?
So long. Like so much
longer. I was about to say.
I chopped it off.
We still have a lot, though.
I have a lot of hair.
It looks cute, though.
Thank you. I like it. Thank you.
Oh, Justin said, hell no, don't cut that shit.
No, he literally told me not to. And I was like, no, I'm telling you, like, I have I was like, I think it's going to look okay. Like, I was kind of scared. But a lot of it, I was scared for that reason. I literally, like, I caught myself thinking... Are you gonna be as desirable or as like whatever? And I was like, it's so. But what is that?
You should have sold that hair, because I bet hella motherfuckers would have bought it.
Probably. Honestly, I could have donated it. The amount that I cut off, you guys do not understand the way that I look. I cut it too. I literally went
You cut it yourself.
I have to go get it like evened out because I don't think it's even. It was last week in New York.
Why did you cut it? Like, why did you
Y'all,
go to
I watched the
salon?
TikTok and I kind of was just like, fuck this shit. Like, because I was pissed off. My hair was looking dry and brittle.
It actually went crazy, honestly.
No, thank you. I had a thing in the back. I had a TikTok up in my face, and then I had my best friend on the phone, and I said 1, 2, 3. She's like, oh my fucking god, just went like that.
What'd you do with the hair?
It's in the trash.
Tripping. Oh, I know people are tripping.
Cause it was like right here.
They would have been like, yeah, I don't give a shit. I can make that.
My hair pressed fast though, so I'm not even worried about it. I was like, give me a year or 2 years, I'll be fine. Like if I don't like it per se, but like even like, bro, even hair in general, that's a whole other. Like you could go into that on so many levels. Like
it's more colorism and shit. And then, I mean, and he made a good point to me about just the history of hair in the Black community and stuff. Like if you you go back, so it was fair points to be made. But yeah, like the fact that I even have to say some of the points here, or what do you mean?
I want to say I don't know because like okay, if you take it like let's say you take braid culture for example, braids at least in my culture it's you go back in time it was celebrated as like anyone can do braids, but the way that it is in my culture was like you would do it for special occasions or like affluency because
like
the type of braid. Yeah, we have like very like cool like, beautiful braided styles and stuff like that now it's like, do you remember when people were talking about box braids? They were like, hate box braid, like men hate box braid or whatever. I was sitting there
like, that's not true.
I was like,
I like braids. I think most men do like braids.
I think and it's an easy style.
It's super
like,
easy.
Well, I have a lot of guy friends, and all they ever talk about are wigs being helmets. They hate wigs. Right?
Helmets.
Bro, the wig conversation is one that I don't even wear wigs like that for real. So I just be sitting here.
Yeah.
I don't. So it's like they'll talk to me about it. I'm like, just let people do what they want with their head. Like if I wanted to, okay. I do understand that whole little lace thing.
You can tell. I mean, most of the time you can
my
tell.
guy friends will like sit on social media and then they'll like
zoom in.
They'll like zoom in. So it's just like. They'll be like, I'm trying to say. First of all, I watch girls blur the lace anyway. So I'm like, again, remember, social media is not real. Stop that. So then they get mad, or they'll be like, they always send something to me like, is that her real hair or not? And I'm like,
damn.
Right. They don't play. They're always asking me questions about stuff like that, and I'm just like if it is, if it's not. I mean, I get that it matters. I get that the way that someone that like what you wake up to, like I get that matters. At the same time, I'm like. Can we just let people do what they want? But they be going so hard on like helmet heads. That is what they call it. Helmet. I do kind of understand how it's a helmet because you're literally. I can't understand. I feel like it's very hot. Like think about something over your existing hair.
Right. It's already hot.
And it's already hot outside. I can see why that should be lifting because the shit you're sweating like
glue and shit.
But I understand. But the thing is, why do women have wigs? Like they're gonna try to tell you, oh. I mean, it is a protective style, like whatever, and it's cool to change up your look, whatever. I do that. But it's desirability at the end of the day.
Right.
Because I'm telling you, 9 out of 10 times, most of the women are like, I look better with my hair longer, with my hair in a different color, or your hair in a way that your natural hair probably can't get to.
Yeah. And
that's where whole like relaxer and everything come in. And I mean, my mom, maybe it is because we just have naturally curly. Everybody in my family has some big old hair. So my mom always pushed. She was like, I'm not playing with y'all. Like, y'all need to appreciate your hair for what it is. I never even did braids until college or anything. My hair was always just at its state, or I would like straighten it. Those were the two ways, just at its curly state or straighten it. I never... And so when I got to college, it was kind of cool because like, oh, you can try different things out. Like, right. I do understand the aspect of like changing up your look, and that can be cool. But I just hope that women have more compassion in themselves. It's hard for women to have compassion in themselves today because everything is telling you that you don't look like, even when I feel good sometimes, then something will remind me. It's like, oh, well, your ass could be fatter. This could be better. You could do that. Like, it's just constantly a reminder that I'm like, damn, like it's hard to just feel good.
And it's because they want to sell you shit. They want to sell you more and more shit. That's what it boils down to. Beauty industry is
a billion-dollar industry for a reason.
Yo.
For a reason.
It's fucked up.
And I just don't see it as an industry that's ever gonna like stop. No, it's never not. It can't, because people constantly are gonna want to look good.
Constantly. Especially the more and more attention you can get off social media. That's what it is. It's all attention. Like women can get it like that on social media if you can fit into a certain
look and a standard and whatever, and that's cool and all, but it's like I think I've gotten to a point where it's like, okay, you could have all the attention. Like guys can be all up in your DMs. That's cool and all, but it's not fulfilling shit. It really doesn't fulfill that. I feel like people in the same way, because that instant gratification, how quickly it came, how quickly it goes. So if you constantly want that gratification, that's why they're constantly like, it's just because I just feel like it's tiring. Like you constantly have to post, you constantly have to look good, you constantly have to be doing stuff to keep that attention. Not saying that people forget, like if you look good, you look good, but it's like, that's why people like, that's the difference between like girls who are like influencers and stuff, how they have to post all the time. Though I've watched them where they're like, they change the outfits throughout one day to take multiple photos so they'll be done for the week and type of thing. I'm like, and I get that that's a business, so so it's a little different. You are making money off of it, but it's also like you have to keep yourself relevant. To keep yourself relevant, you have to keep posting. To keep posting, you have to constantly look good. To constantly look good, like, or what you think is good, or like that upkeep of it, that's a fucking lot. Like that's really overwhelming. You gotta want it. You gotta really want it.
And then you gotta be like, wait, why do I want this again? Making money, I guess.
Quote unquote, let's say, or if you're not even an influencer, then, which to me, that's the funny part. You're not an influencer, you're just doing too much. And I'm just like, I just think you're doing it for attention, or like the wannabe of an influencer or whatever. But when you're doing that shit for attention, it's like, I don't think you'll ever feel genuinely fulfilled.
Like content. You're
never gonna feel fully content. Because that attention is going to continue, it'll go away, or it'll have its points where you're getting a lot of attention to where you're not, like whatever. And I, like, for me personally, I notice, like, I'm like, when I post, I get more attention. Like, niggas come out the woodworks. I'm just like, oh, because it's just like, I don't
come out the woodworks.
Yeah, they do. They come out of nowhere. Like, oh, hey, okay, whatever.
What?
Like,
wait. What? Like, what makes you want to respond to a DM? Like, I'm sure you get hella DMs. What are the ones you're like, oh yeah, I'll respond to this guy versus not?
The guy either has to look good, or the conversation. I like interesting conversation. That's my problem. So I'll be like always sitting here just saying shit, because I'm like, if you have an interesting point to say, I love hearing interesting points. Yeah. But then it gets misconstrued, and I'll be like, oh well, I wasn't really. Then they'll like throw it in like, oh, we can. I don't know. Like, I like stimulating conversation, and I will post things that I like. I like to have a stimulating conversation on. So it's like, I'm here for opinion. I love opinion. Like, I love people's opinions on stuff, but it's also just like.
But then they want to like take you out.
Yeah, then they'll like throw that shit in. I'm like, I'm not. That's not what I was saying. Like, that's not what I meant.
Like, hey, you're cool and all, but
like, we can talk about whatever, and then we can call it a day. I don't know.
So are your DMs open to?
They're open, but it's just also just like, I'm a thank you. First of all, I didn't know thank you was a curve until like a few months ago.
I don't think it.
No, somebody told me that's a dead curve. I really did not know that, because my dumbass, I guess because I was like, my first 2 years of college, I was in a relationship. So I just wasn't, like, I wasn't talking to nobody. So when I got out of that, and then like, I was like, oh, like DMs is a thing. Like, I haven't really been here, you know? Right. And so people would like they'll say something, whatever. I'll be like, oh, thank you! Exclamation point, because I have nothing else to say to you, right? I'm thinking that like, oh, I'm saying thank you, and like, I mean, I guess it is kind of closing the conversation, because what more can you say to that? But at the same time, I didn't know no better.
I think it's a meme curve, because at the end of the day, it's like, what are you supposed to say if you have nothing else to say? Like, oh, thanks.
Also, I don't, like, my thing is, men think they're doing something half the time when you're not doing anything. You're sending fucking hard eyes and doing shit to me. Right. Like, what do you want me to say to that? Right. Like, okay, cool, thanks. That's all I can say. All I can literally say is thank you.
Everybody else is doing the same shit.
You're doing the same thing, so I'm like, you post a fucking selfie, you get 10 fucking hard eyes. So it's like, that doesn't matter. And the only time that matters, or like it would work, is if you're actually interested in the guy. Like, if a girl's interested, a guy doesn't really have to say much.
Say shit.
Y'all don't really have to say much. That's on the girl, but that's not the norm.
Right. It's hard to get people's attention if you ain't got no blue check.
Yeah. On Instagram. And they'll take that blue check out. Like, girls really think that really means that. At this point, I feel like everybody and their mama can get a blue check, but that's I just don't like athletes though. Like, the athletic, that's a hard no for me.
Why?
Hard no. I don't like them.
Why?
I think my issue is most of the time they have nothing to say outside of their sport for me. You have no, like, where is your personality outside that? Now, don't get me wrong, I understand if it's your profession or if it's what you've been doing your whole life. Of course, that's a big factor. But who are you outside of that? Like, I just believe that people sometimes attach themselves too much to one thing, and they kind of lose sight of the fact that, like, you're a person, you have so many facets of yourself. Like, explore those. And I like people like that. And I don't like people that confine themselves to one thing. And I feel like a lot, like,
so it isn't the sport. You just don't want somebody. So you just don't want somebody who talks about their, like, preoccupied with their profession. That's really what that sounded like. No, not even that.
Like, it's hard to explain. It's like, I'm not And I think they're also like very full of themselves. Like, they have an expectation that I'm supposed to want you off the strength that you are a football player or something. But I'm like, okay, that's your job. Like, that's cool and all. And like, you're making money from it or whatever. But like, okay, if somebody's job, if they're an accountant, like, cool, they could be making money from that. Like, you're no better than them in that way. You're just your job. It's just more glorified.
Right. Like,
there's so many other jobs that need to be glorified, i.e. school teachers.
Teaching,
and there's so many other jobs that, like, to my opinion, you're making more of a direct impact in people's lives. That's a whole other conversation. But to me, it's like, nah, I'm not dealing with that. A lot of them are they're actually more high maintenance than they think. They're high maintenance and stuck up because they expect things like women in a way to be like handed to them, which on the most part a lot of women do throw themselves at them. So it's hard when you, as a man, if you are getting the attention, then it's like, I'm getting attention from all these girls. Like, the fuck do I look like I have to put in effort for you?
Exactly.
Like, who are you to put in effort when I can like get a girl that maybe looks just as good as you or whatever? I think the only way that you really get a man or anybody to focus on you is that personality aspect. It's like, who are you as a person? Like, whatever. But that's been my experience with athletes. I mean, I haven't really had a lot of experience with them because I've always kind of been a hard no.
Like curving them,
Like, I've been a hard no, but that's because like the town I grew up in is where Duke is, and so like their athletes were very glorified, and like I was just running around in high school trying to act grown, going to all these college parties and seeing it. I saw it at a young age, and I was like, I don't want to like the way that women look when they're fiending over men is the most groupie, sad shit I've ever seen. Shit. I hate. One thing I don't care about shit. I'm not looking like a groupie. I don't care who you are.
Groupie.
I won't look like
fan.
A groupie.
Yeah,
a fan.
Like a fan. Girls
in the club be doing the most to like be seen and like all this stuff, and I just be sitting there like I'm a person where it's like at the end of the day you're a human being and I'm a human being. So at baseline we're not equal, but we're human beings. So why the hell am I about to hold you up here when I have so much to offer too? So like I'm not about to do that. I don't like a whole chasing shit. But maybe that's my own complex.
Do you have a racial preference with men, or are you open to everybody?
I mean, I'm open, but I have a preference. You ask a preference, I have a preference.
Okay, but it's not like hard.
Nah.
So you can be with anybody. You can be with a white guy.
No.
Marry a white guy.
No. Okay, maybe it is hard. I don't see myself not marrying a black man.
Okay. And what's your like, why did you come to that conclusion and decision?
I feel like I can't relate. You can't genuinely relate to me, or you're not gonna understand what I go through. So if you're not like full, like not, it's like hard. It's like, I mean, maybe you can make an effort. I think that means a lot. If someone makes an effort to get to know you and understand you as a person or as a black woman or whatever. But I think genuinely they're not gonna fully understand as much as like a black man would, and I would be able to understand a black man more than I would any other race.
Right.
So to me personally, that's my biggest reason. But I guess like, I mean, if like a white guy came and just fucking rocked my world, like it was just amazing. He's just an amazing person overall, and like, I don't know. This doesn't sound like that would happen. It just doesn't sound like that would happen. But I don't like to like generalize. I can't generalize a whole race.
Right.
Like I can't. Not. And there's a lot of black men that probably can't provide the things that I need.
And I was just, you just said we're not going to generalize the whole race, but I am going to ask this question. Like, what do you think about men as a whole, like black men as a whole, your experience? Just kind of like, what do you think? What are your thoughts?
There's good people. There's bad people. There's good men. There's bad men. Like,
yeah,
maybe I've been a little susceptible to the bad ones. So that's the inner work I have to do. Sometimes, like, I used to really do things like, oh, men ain't shit, all of that. And I really got to realize, I was like, if you're attracting not shit people, what is it about you that is attracting those people to think, oh, I can be not shit to you and I can like, so like my thing is, okay, I'll still go around and play and say that as a joke, but every time like as of recent, this is a quarantine realization. As of recent, I really had to sit down and be like, okay, what is it about? What do you attract? Why do you attract these type of people? And then I started to realize, oh, it's like, it's certain things about my personality that I was like, or certain things that I was like thinking I was looking for that I was like, okay, you're not attracting people genuinely good for you or whatever. And then you just have to do that self-work and realization. And I think like this is also recent. Like, I think I was just more naive before. Like, I used to be a person that would ignore
red flags.
Yeah, those red flags. I would, because I'd be like, oh no, and like 1 or 2 times isn't too bad. Like, no, when somebody starts doing, and then it becomes a thing where that becomes like, it's part of their personality and shit, and you can't change it, and then it's like, I don't know. I also have a savior complex. I think I can fucking fix everybody.
Okay, Jesus.
Yeah, okay, Jesus, right. I literally think I'm like, and the problem is my biggest issue, I never was looking at a person for who they were in the moment. I was looking at the potential of the person. Potential that's my creative narrative. I can't create a narrative of who you are. Because you are you and you're going to do what you do. And then I would get mad when they weren't doing what I felt like they should be doing. But I'm like, I'm only in control of myself. So you have to take people for who they are in the moment. Now, again, everyone has the potential to whatever. I believe, like, I'm also the type of person where it's like, I don't feel like, maybe because I'm 22 and I don't have all my shit together. I'm not the type to be like, oh, a man has to have all his shit together and his finances, this and that and that. No, I don't have my shit together. So I'm a type of person where it's like, I'm never expecting a man to be, I don't want any man less than me, but I can't get mad at you if you're kind of where I'm at. So if you have the potential, because I think I have a lot of potential to do a lot in life. I genuinely believe that. I don't feel like this is my final stage of life. Right. So I don't believe any man, like a guy comes to me, he's like, okay, I might not be making 6 figures, but this is my plan of how I'm going to get there. And I see you're actively working stuff. I believe in that potential, but you also have to take the man for who he is in the moment. So if he isn't the best guy, like, I'm not going to be able to change you for that. I'm not going to be able to make you more attentive to my need. Like, I just feel like people are either going to do it or they're not. And it comes quickly and people don't realize it. They just get stuck in the fact that, oh, I care about this person, so let me just try to hold on. But it's like, okay, if your basics aren't met and you're feeling unfulfilled in that relationship, more than likely you're going to continue to feel unfulfilled in that relationship. Right. So it's like, I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but you just have to realize the signs of people. And people are either compatible or not. I believe people change for people. So that's why I literally think someone could have treated someone like shit. Like, they really could have, because they didn't genuinely care about that person. But they find someone they genuinely care about, they're gonna tighten up. They're gonna tighten up.
So wait, let's go back to the niggas ain't shit narrative. Do you subscribe to that? Is it true? Is there some truth to it?
Yeah, I think there's some truth. Like, sometimes I feel like, as a general consensus, you'll just be doing things I'm like, why? And don't ask me what those things are, because I don't even know.
I was gonna say, like, what are those things? How can you be mad at people doing a certain thing, but you can't even name it so that they can, like, it's like, knock it off. And then wait, this is another one. Like, do you think that's a legitimate narrative, or is it like some Justin LeBoy, Daquan, like, what's this?
I think it's a push narrative.
Push it, yeah.
I think it's definitely a push narrative, but then it's like sometimes
it's based in a little bit of truth. There's some truth there.
I think there's some truth in everything. So it's like, okay, again, there are good men, there are bad men. So there really are just not people. There are not shit people in the world. Right. So it's like, it's just easier to hyper focus on the bad than the good. So it's like, okay, like, you see, let's say, and then a lot of it is by celebrities and stuff. So like with this Summer Walker London shit, she had all this stuff that she's saying in this new album about him. He didn't treat her well, and it's, oh, like, when people are like, oh, men don't talk to me because Summer Walker's album dropped and she's talking about this not shit crazy man to her. So now we're gonna sit here and try to, like, not saying try to feel it. Some people could feel the music and then be like, oh, men aren't shit, like, blah, 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 just because of one woman's experience that some can relate to, some can't. Some, for some reason, sick way want to relate to. So they're gonna say that men aren't, like that's where I'm like, Wow.
It's like glorified to hate men.
It's glorified to hate men. It is. Unfortunately.
And then when you couple that with a lot of the men are in jail, you know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of the men aren't going to be as educated as women now, because women are getting way more educated, especially in our community. The gap is getting really crazy. So now it's like, oh yeah, like, you niggas, I don't need y'all, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that narrative is dangerous to push, because then again, it goes to the next generation of, if they don't have anything kind of to counter that, or even worse, it's reinforcing what they've already seen in their lives.
It's reinforcing it, and then it's like okay, so I have this girl I know, she's like 16 or something, that her mom was like, you know, like, I want to kind of like talk to her, like, be like whatever for her she needs. I'm like, okay, whatever. She'd be talking to me, and like, we were talking about men the other day, because she was like, yeah, I got my man back. I was like, okay, like, I don't know what that means for you, but okay. And then she was like,
Jeno.
But she was like, yeah, I'm gonna like finesse him, like blah blah blah. I'm like, okay, at 16, what are you finessing another 16-year-old for or whatever? Yeah, and she was like, well, you know, like I'm gonna get this out of him and this, he can pay for this. I'm like,
shoes.
Like 16-year-olds are thinking like that.
Right.
So when they get to like a real dating age, like a grown dating, like that, your narrative is like, okay, let me get this out of a man, and then maybe if he does this, maybe I'll be like, okay, I'll take you serious. Or even if not, let me get my shit and run.
That's dangerous.
Like, that's very dangerous. You're literally, it's not pushing and it's not teaching connection. So when you're not teaching connection, it's like, you're not gonna connect.
And I think that's dangerous because men will freak out and kill your ass. You know what I mean? Like, men are so...
My best friend's cousin got murdered outside of a Planet Fitness from her ex-husband.
Really?
Yeah, literally 2 weeks ago, he had to go to his funeral.
Wow.
Yo, like, it was like a domestic, whatever. She left. She was walking up the gym, and he shot her, and then he shot himself.
Damn.
Yeah, people are crazy.
People are definitely crazy.
People are crazy. So like, that stuff's real. I'm like, you can't play with people like that.
You can't.
Like, you really, because you don't know.
You don't know what's going on,
with.
right?
You don't know who you're dealing. You might be that trigger for them. Like, that's usually what it is.
That's usually what it is. Men go, man, like, especially if you, like, if you guys have really had something and like been together for a while, and it's like, oh yeah, I was just finessing you. Like, motherfuckers do not.
And then the thing is that women move like that. You're hurting somebody by doing that. You are, especially if they genuinely like you and connect with you. Then you expect them to be like, they're gonna, it takes really one heartbreak to really mess you up, because then you don't trust anything going on. And a lot of us move through like a bad experience or a few bad experiences and then are really guard ourselves, because it's like you don't want to go through that emotional toll again, which I think is fair to be guarded, like to be a little like cautious. But it's like sometimes they just don't let up. So it's like you come to this narrative that it's like all men are gonna do this just because 1-2 men did that to you. Now,
right?
1-2 men did that to you. Like, people need to disassociate that. It's like, okay, yeah, it happened. And you probably need you have to work through some things because that happened. But I don't think it's fair to say everyone. Like, it's not fair for like, if a guy I'm talking to dealt with a girl who did him like filthy, and then he wants to like put that on me. Right. That's not fair, especially if I didn't do anything. And I get like you work through people, like you have to make them trust you, whatever. But like, people don't. I don't feel like people deal with themselves to be able to be. That's what I'm saying. Like, people need to work on. You have to feel good about yourself, confident in everything within yourself. Even like, not saying like complete. I don't believe anyone's ever completely healed. People are constantly gonna have like, that's just human evolution. You're gonna constantly be going through shit and constantly dealing with shit. But it's like you have to feel good about yourself. And like, I think like, especially with relationships, it's just, you have to allow it to be vulnerable. Right. Like, there's a part, I think it's that you have to accept the person's either going to be do you right or do you wrong. But if they do you wrong, you have to just know yourself enough to be like, okay, I walk away from this situation and find someone who will do right by me. A lot of people don't know how to do that.
A lot of people get into relationships before they heal the trauma they went through, or the heartbreak, or whatever it is.
Piling it trauma, and you're not dealing with shit, or
taking it out on the next person.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's not how that's supposed to work. Like, I'm sorry you got cheated on, and now you don't trust anybody. But it's like, what are you talking to me for if you can't trust anybody?
Right, exactly.
So it's like, you might want to figure that out. You might want to be comfortable trusting people again before you talk to the next person, because it's just wasting everyone's time.
And then it's like, how do you even, like, okay, how do I do that? If that's what I want to do, how do I do that? I was gonna say, you ready to go?
Yeah, right. I'm ready. Yeah, I have a butt at 12.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. Well, hey, I appreciate your time. Like, no, I was literally just about to ask, like, we've been going for like 2 hours.
Good conversation.
No, for sure.
Good conversation.